Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to the Recruiter Podcast. Jeez, that sounded like a radio DJ.
It did a little bit. AM.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be with you here until about midnight tonight. We're going to be bringing the oldies to you. That's right. This one's going to the top of the charts with a bullet.
I think you should probably do an entire podcast in that voice.
You think?
Just see what happens. See what happens. I was joking.
Okay.
This falls under one of those bad ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good to my crazy brain.
no.
And yeah.
I was joking.
Yeah, okay. Don't mess with me, son. Hey, look. So we have our first repeat offender in the building.
All right.
In my post, I put back by popular demand, ?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Mr. Glenn Pasch. Let's hear it for Glenn. Woo!
Yay!
Yes.
Yay for me.
Hey, for Glenn. So, hello, everybody. Let's get some stuff out of the way here that I always forget that I'm not going to forget anymore. So this is all self-promotion. Hit the share button. This is going to be a really interesting podcast today. We are going to build a automobile car dealership and every inch of it and everything that goes into it. And we'll see how that goes. Because the three of us have never done this together before, so we'll see how this works out. It could be a real mess. Or we could completely revolutionize the automobile industry.
I mean,
That's what I'm hoping.
even if we blow it, chances are we're still going to make some money out of it, right?
Correct,
And
yeah,
stick
absolutely.
around for 20, 30 years.
Right,
So-
yeah.
Isn't that how it
It's tough
goes?
to screw up completely. Unless you do something illegal, which has been happening. It's like, I can't go a week without reading about some dumbass doing illegal things in car dealerships. I really must be the most naive 47-year car veteran in the world to think that people are still not stealing, making up phony credit apps and faking wages. And I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me. And these guys are getting put away for a long time, man, and big fines.
Yes.
And they should be. All right, so at any rate, hit the share button, hit the share button, hit the share button, hit the share button. If you're watching us on our Facebook page, AutoMax Recruiting, hit that share button. Put your nice comments in there. Hey, look, here's what we're going to do. And I watched a video of Frank Lopes Live the other night, and he talked about social media and things not to do and so forth and so on. And it was, what would he call it, squirreling, I think.
Right.
Said, don't, be in the middle of a thought and then bang, hey, Joe, how you doing? It's good to see you, man. And, jump, oh, squirrel, that kind of thing.
Squirreling. I like it.
Yeah, I do too. So just in the essence of time, I feel bad because you guys, on the Facebook Live portion of this, you guys, say nice things, say hello, ask questions and so forth, and we kind of ignore you, which I guess podcasters do. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to put my phone on and take a look for questions. I'm going to say, we can say hello to everybody now. Hi, everybody. It's really awesome that you're joining us, and that's very cool, and we love you for it. However, to spend time calling out everybody's name and a shout out and all that, that we can't do. Or we're not, well, we could do it, but we're not going to do it. In essence of getting to what we want to talk about today and hopefully help you all in your automotive careers. So please hit the share button. Get this out to as many people as you can and groups. That would be also very awesome. If you haven't liked the AutoMax Recruiting Facebook page yet, do that. Also, this is streaming live to our YouTube channel called AutoMax Recruiting. You'll know you're at the right place. You got a picture of a young kid screaming into a microphone. I think it's an awesome image, so that's why I picked it.
I like it.
It is cool.
I do too.
It's cool looking.
I like that.
So I'll probably get sued for it, but 'cause
Probably, yeah.
I don't think I have permission to take that image.
I
But
wouldn't imagine.
we'll see. Yeah, no one's going to mess with someone with a couple thousand subscribers.
We'll
we get a million.
Yeah,
we
we'll
get in
save
trouble.
that for down the road.
Yeah. So share that. Also, audio platforms, folks. And I'm not sure. We're getting a lot of downloads. We obviously always like to have more, but we are on iTunes. We are on SoundCloud. We are on Google Play. We are on Stitcher. We are on
Spotify, did you say Spotify?
Spotify. So please subscribe to us there, the Recruiter Podcast. And you're driving around in your car, you're at the gym or whatever, and you want to spend 2, 3, or 4 hours with us because
We're
can't-
long format here.
Right, man. It is long. We can't do anything. It's like talking. Condensed conversation and using words efficiently. No, we just run our mouths and just keep going and going and going. So, but hopefully there's a good ending point for us, and you get information out of it. But really would appreciate you hitting the share buttons.
Yeah, and hey, if you like what you're hearing, share it with people outside the industry too.
Good idea.
My weekly Dirty Heads drop here. So the lead singer of the Dirty Heads has his own podcast, and Christina's listening to it. My wife Christina's listening, and she goes, "You know what? They talk about a lot of the same stuff that you guys talk about." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, this is just general how to live your life information. It doesn't have to be solely applicable to the automotive industry." So if you are enjoying what you hear, feel free to share it out to friends outside the industry. What do you got over there?
Todd Long.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
I'm this close to talking about it.
We're not talking about that.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's see. We got that. Glenn, what's happening in your world? Stuff you want to promote? Where are you going to be speaking? We have when's the next conference? You got
Our
something coming up?
conference is in November, the week before Thanksgiving, where are we at? The Breakers in Florida, and it's the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit.
That's right.
It's tickets are still on sale. It will end up selling out. Last year was phenomenal at the Breakers. Great location, great content that we have because we're getting the top thought leaders and people who are really. I'm hearing echoes in my head.
Yeah, that's this guy with his phone. What are you doing over there?
That's me. Just checking for
Okay.
things.
So anyway, we're going to have a lot of panels. We're going to keep the content in terms of breakout workshops only a couple at a time so people don't feel compelled of, I'd like to see them and them and them.
Oh, that's good.
And it's our conferences are a little more unique in the sense that because we're all in the one location, we spend a lot of time together. We give a lot of time to be on the exhibit floor to meet the vendors. But all the vendors are also in the workshops too, or they're on the panels, or they're learning. So you end up spending time with everybody and you get to meet them outside of just the booth.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
this way you actually can go back to them and say, hey, wait a minute, you said this yesterday. I sat through your presentation. What do you think about that? Or you were sitting in the presentation right next to me, even as a vendor, and you're going, well, what do you think about him?
Right.
So it breaks down those barriers of only time I see you, you're trying to sell me something.
Right. Well,
Right.
And we've talked about it before. That's what we've always got the most out of in conferences. And you hear a lot of people, conferences are a waste of time. They're a waste of time. I didn't sell anything. I didn't do any demos. It's like, well, I think you're missing the point here is you're going there and you're meeting people, like you said, and you're sitting down and having real conversations
That's
with
right.
them and just seeing them, being face-to-face instead of making a phone call or sending a text or sending an email. And that's where we've always found our value, where you might not see immediate return from being at a conference, but the networking and the relationships that you make there.
I think
real
people,
benefits.
to your point, I don't think people go to conferences with a purpose.
Right.
They don't plan it out ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's Dan Moore, who's a good friend of ours, always talked about it in 3 phases. Whether you're an attendee or you're a vendor, is pre-market, right? Pre-show. What are you doing to market that you're there? Setting up meetings, trying to reach out, putting out enough content for people to go, oh, I got to go find that person. Then it's during the show. What's your plan during the show? Are you setting up meetings? What strategic events do you want to be at? Even if you're just saying, well, I'm going to stop by for a half an hour here, then I'm going here, then I'm going here, instead of I'm just going to go hang out. It's a sense of purpose. And then it's looking at other vendors that are there and saying, well, who do I want to go see? What product do I want to go see? What content do I want to see? So you're planning, what am I getting out of this? Or, as you said, strategic relationships between businesses. And then the third piece is post-conference. What did you see? Who are you following up with? More content about it, or so it is that sense of purpose. Or else those people who say I didn't get anything out of it, one, are only looking at sales, and
Right.
sales are important,
Right.
but I could see you at this conference, the next conference, but I buy from you on the third conference. Well,
Right.
where do you attribute the sale? When in reality, it was
Absolutely.
the only reason I bought from you is I saw you 2 times and I talked to you, spoke with you, I liked you. You didn't try to just shove something down my throat. You understood my position. You stayed in touch with me. I saw you at the next conference. You were nice to me again. You answered my question, right? So we were talking before the podcast. It's looking at everything in that balance of short-term wins, but long-term.
Right.
Right.
And it comes back to what you talked about on the previous podcast about selling versus helping.
Sure.
Where if you're going there with the sell, sell, sell mindset, it's probably not going to be for you, and you probably are going to feel like you didn't get anything out of it.
Sure, that's a great point.
Right. I mean, but if you're going out there and truly trying to help and providing what you can give to the industry and what you can give to other businesses, other dealerships, it tends to reciprocate.
Well, you still need to sell, but it's that if the only thing is the end result, you're never going to really focus on the process, right?
Right.
I was listening to a podcast, Lewis Howe's podcast. I can't remember the guest. It was a recent one. He's in the hospitality industry. He focuses on, he owns restaurants and gyms and things like that. And his point was, if you're only focused on money, it's like sugar. It's an addiction. You get $1 million. Well, now I need 5. You get 5, I need 10. And 10, you're never satisfied.
Right.
So same thing with sales. If the only way a conference is successful is if I sell. Well, what if you sell 10? Guess what? Then the next time I got to sell 15.
Right.
Versus
Good point.
the process. Versus, if anybody as your health and when you were working out and you had a goal, but it could be super far away, and it's that journey. And once I got the goal, actually winning or getting to that goal sometimes is not as satisfying. It's more short-term satisfied than all those little wins along the way to get
I
there.
was just about to go there. You stole my thunder.
Yeah.
But the health and fitness analogy is perfect. Like you said, and you can talk about like crash and burn dieting, where if you're just thinking of, I'm going to kill it for 3 weeks. And it's like, well, what happens at the end of 3 weeks? But if your
Gain it
mindset
all
is
back.
more of a general just philosophy and wellness and just, like you said, long-term goal and lifestyle change, it doesn't seem as arduous and you enjoy the journey a little more instead.
Well,
of
it's not as crippling where, to Craig's point right there, is that if you crash and you lose, I can lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, but odds are I'm probably going to gain it back because that's not a sustainable lifestyle, right? But if you said, I want to lose 10 pounds by next year, that's easy. You probably get there quicker. And then you can add and change, but you're also built into a process of saying, well, look at all these different things that are happening for me to achieve that versus solo focused, only this, ripping, cutting, getting it all out. And then all of a sudden you go, I did it. And you go, well, now I don't
what?
feel so good. That's it. Now what? I want more. I
Right.
need more. It's addictive versus, and so you can have that. And like I said, we go to conferences, we want to walk out of there with revenue to be able to say this penciled, but sometimes that revenue doesn't come today.
Right.
It's over 6 months, but you can
Right.
still say, okay, we generated contracts to pay for this plus, it's coming, but. We all see dealers at conferences slip their badge over after the first because everybody's just coming at them going, I'll never see you again, so here's my pitch.
Yep.
And so that's when we designed our conferences. We wanted it to be more of a just hang out for 3 days. Let's all learn together. Let's meet each other, see how we can help. Because the other piece in automotive, and I think I've worked in other industries too, it's in all industries, is people move. So the person who was over here as a general manager leaves, and now as a general manager over here, he couldn't put you in play over here, but he can put you in play over here. But
Yeah, good
because
point.
you met them and they know you, and it's the old, you want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. I liked you, and now I have the ability to bring you in, but I couldn't do it here because I didn't have the authority, right? So
Right.
that's the other piece to understand of that long-term relationship is we all know people who are like, where are you now? Weren't you? You were where now? and you're going, bad situation, had to move.
And
Right,
if I could, I'll go even a step more and more abstract than that. Is sometimes just the vibe you get from being there and the feeling you have of being around other successful people, other like-minded
Yep.
people. You bring that back to your company, and you have ideas. And
Sure.
It's just a feeling. We went out to Rockstar earlier this year. And we didn't make any sales. We really, we network it. We had some decent connections, but really it was more just the speakers were great and the
Right.
atmosphere was great. And coming back is just energizing, and
Sure.
that transfers internally.
It does. Yeah.
Well, you
almost
meet,
every time.
What you do is it's interesting. You meet people that inspire you, but the other thing that you run across, Troy and I talk about it all the time, and I did the podcast with Jason Harris, the coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason's a great guy.
Great
man.
guy. I did his yesterday. It was very funny. After we turned off the mics, we just got talking about business. And what you find is not just inspiring, that's one thing, but you find people who are sort of in the same boat as you, so you don't feel as
Yes.
alone. You
Absolutely.
go, oh, I thought
very-
I was the only one that
that's
was
very
going
true.
through this. And because he's at his agencies maybe just slightly smaller than mine. And
Right.
Troy, like I would say Troy's, his and mine were very similar.
Well,
And all of a sudden you start going, well, I'm winning people, I'm losing people. I get this. Holding on to talent because someone's headhunting, right? For him, Jason, Dealer.com moved into Canada, where before it used to be through Trader. Now they moved, so he lost
yeah.
a couple people to Dealer.com because they're hiring and they can
course.
throw more money, right?
Yeah.
We lose it in New Jersey
Right.
to other companies that hire
Right.
and are going, well, just pay whatever it is to get somebody. And you're going, oh, man, I can't.
Right. Can't compete with that.
Well, I can't compete if somebody walks in and goes, well, they're going to pay me $20,000 more. I'm like, hey, God bless.
Right,
I
yeah.
know, what can I do?
Yeah.
So that I think it's a different inspiration to go, okay, I'm not alone. Other people
Absolutely.
go through this. And I think then you get a connection of almost building your own 20 group.
Yeah, your own tribe.
In a way where now you build a 20 group of people who are business owners at your same size going to, and you have
Yeah.
someone I can call up and go, are you feeling this too?
Yeah.
Here's what
Yeah.
I did.
That's good. I don't know why we don't. I mean, maybe you do. We don't do it enough. We seem to be isolated more so than I'd like.
Well, I think it's time. I think a lot of it's just time. I'm scrambling 20 minutes before the show here. I
Yeah.
mean, it's to come and do this. And we had Dan Webb on. You know Dan,
I know
right?
Dan, yeah.
So he talked about stage 2 stuff. He's like, this is all stage 2 stuff. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, this is stage 2 stuff because I know stage 1 stuff's sitting for me at home and I got a pile of things that I need to get to. So I think a lot of it's just time constraints.
Yeah,
But
probably.
that's another point that I want to hit on is because we're all so remote and everyone's just in their own section geographically of the country. You don't get a lot of face-to-face time with
Yeah.
Well,
people.
Troy and
our
I were
business is weird.
Troy and I were talking about that is trying to maybe get a group of people, and maybe it'll happen starting next year. But I'm committed to try and really get this done. Is get maybe 10 people, who are like-minded, and twice a year go somewhere for a weekend.
That'd be great.
I'm in.
know?
And Cirillo buys, though, because
Yeah.
we pay him a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So
So-
Cirillo buys.
Right. So you just go.
Michael's on the podcast right now.
I know. I talked to him the other day, but we were talking about that too. I'm saying, you just have to think about that.
Well, I'd love to be in on that.
Yeah,
Let's push that idea
Sure.
forward.
So, it was funny because Jason, when we were talking yesterday, I said one of the biggest changes that helped our company about 2.5 years ago, it was the pivot of focusing on us as a company, taking care of ourselves as a client in our marketing, because our marketing was always after everybody else. Right? Took care of all of our clients first, then it was us.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I said one day, wait a minute,
Right.
we're the most important client,
Right. Yeah.
right? If we're not out
Sure.
there making the phone ring, if we're not
Right.
doing it for ourselves, we're not going to be here. So I
Right.
sat with our team and I said, and Denise, who's running the agency now, has really taken it even further than, I had hoped. It's moving where we've built in time into an account manager's time and said, you have a new client, it's PCG,
Huh.
right? So it's not layered on top of everything you do, but your help, and here's the budget for paid search, and here's the budget for social. And at the end of the month, you have to generate a report and sit in front of us and say, here's how many phone calls,
Right.
here's traffic.
Just like
here's,
you would with one of your dealers.
But we built in that time
Yeah,
to
that's
say
good, Brian.
to
Brian,
dedicate that to that.
Yeah.
And so I said that to Jason yesterday because he was doing something. I said, you have to do that. You flip it to say we're the most important. We have to market ourselves. How do we do that as if we were a client?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, interesting things happen versus it's an afterthought. Well, if I get to it at 10 o'clock at night, maybe I'll try to
Right.
squeeze something out versus
Absolutely.
going, wait a minute.
Right.
We're the most, and that's what I would say. We're the most important client because without us, our other clients don't have anybody to lean on.
Right. And you could take that to a dealership, obviously. They should look at things that way as well. You could take it down to a salesperson on the floor or whatever, before they market and brand everybody. I mean, they got to take care of themselves.
Well, you have to
spread that
understand.
word.
Yeah, you have to. And to your point, Joe, it is scheduling your time.
Yeah. It's
It
hard,
has to-
man. It's so hard.
Well,
So hard.
it is and it isn't because
Give me the isn't part of it.
well, if it's a priority, like you just said before I have to go to the doctor. I can't miss it.
Right.
It's not debatable,
Oh, gotcha.
right?
Yeah, right. Good point.
One of my other brother's wives was always good. She would say we would come over with the kids when they were young and say, "Oh yeah, we'll get together soon." She would pull out her calendar and go, "Okay, let's put it on the
do it.
calendar."
Instead of saying it, right?
Right. And
Right.
same thing. The way that over the last year and a half I've been able to, when I've been out of conferences, people are going, "Oh, I see your content." I see the only way it was is my Denise put me on a schedule. So here's your schedule, not optional. And then I transferred that to my personal schedule to say, okay, an hour, and I just block it out like I was having a meeting with myself.
Gotcha.
My meeting was with I have to sit and write. Now, whether I wrote or whatever, I sat in that room or I focused to say, if got some of it, or I have to go learn this, right? And I started putting it on the calendar and treating it as if today.
Yeah.
I had to be here on
Right.
time, ready. We're going at 11.
Right.
So it isn't. If you do that, it's not hard. What happens is when it's on your schedule, you can move it to another day because something else came up. But once it's on your schedule as important, and even if it's half an hour, I got half an hour to do this, half an hour. Or I like a little longer chunks because from a creative standpoint, half an hour's no. But without that, with left to your own devices, you get into squirrel. I got to do
no
this. I
doubt.
got to do this. I got to do this. Let me answer this. Let me do this. Or it's also easy to use it as an excuse from really buckling down to do something, right? To say, I'm going to write, or I'm going to learn how to do this video, or I'm going to edit this video. And you sit there and go, shut the door, just everybody out for an hour. I got to do, and you actually get more accomplished versus, well, I'll start it, but let me go run over here, or I got to send this quick email. Let me just check this. I mean, we've all become squirrels in a way. You have to fight it. So I don't think it's hard. You just have to. The hard part is actually putting it on the schedule and then
Right.
working to commit to it.
Right.
And once you do that, you still have flexibility. You still keep some white space on the calendar, but every day you say, "No, I got it." And it's that someone said it, and that's why I stole it. Was you're having a meeting with yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's how writers supposedly write, correct? Where they schedule an hour, whatever it is, every single day.
No, I had a friend who was a writer, and he worked at home. See, I don't work well at home.
hard.
It's hard.
Woo!
Well, what he did was he had a separate room, right? It built it, took a bedroom and said, but he treated it as that's my office.
Right, yeah.
So he created a schedule. He'd get up, he'd have breakfast, he'd get it, and by 9 o'clock, I'm in the room, and I don't come out till 11:30 for lunch.
Right. Whether you write anything or not.
He'd just say,
Is the
I
way
have to
it's-
think about it. I'm committing
Right.
to this. Come out. He'd have lunch. He'd go back in.
Right.
And that was his job. He looked at it. So I read Stephen King's book on writing, which is a phenomenal book if you're a writer. And he did the same thing. He's just like, I have my place. That's my desk.
I would
That's
think
my
most
area.
of those guys
That's
have
my
to
right.
do that.
But it's with anything. So if you're saying, I'm going to edit, right? You just reverse engineer. When does it due? What do I have to do today? Or this is the day. So you just block out schedules. Tuesday mornings, I edit from 10 to 12. And that's just on. Now, what I'm editing, I don't know today, but that's the priority between 10 and 12 is editing this. And then afternoons, I do this. And this time I make calls or this. I just think it allows you to get it out of your head.
Yeah.
And then you go, what am I doing today?
Yeah.
Right? Going back to Dan Webb, what made him a good salesperson when he was working with us, I would joke with him and I would ask him, I said, well, what are you doing today? And he goes, I don't know, the computer's going to tell me, meaning Salesforce. He had his hot list of people, but he would make a call, he'd put in a task for tomorrow, and then it would just spew out and say,
You still use Salesforce?
we moved away from Salesforce. It was just
Okay.
we had less people using it, and it's just really expensive. So now we've
expensive.
combined. We use, what do we use now? We found a tool called Insightly. That is project management tool and CRM for us. It works much better for us.
Zoho, believe it or not, is changed everything for our company.
Yeah,
Zoho.
when we
And
went-
it's so cheap, but with the applicant tracking system, everything
Yeah.
it can do, it's just like
Well, for
no-brainer
us, what
for
we
us.
found was there was either a marketing tool in a CRM
Right.
or a project management tool, and there was an Insightly combined because we, for project management for the account managers tracking all the work that has to be done for the client and communicating between departments. We found that plus the CRM worked well. So Insightly, that's what we went to because Salesforce was just crazy.
Very expensive.
Going back, if we can, to the idea of scheduling time and working and thinking more big picture instead of getting stuck in the daily grind and squirreling, which is, again, going to be a regular part of my vocabulary. Thanks,
I like
Frank.
it.
Don't you think it starts before that, though? You have to come to a conclusion and have the mindset that this is important. This is just as important, if not more important, than sitting here and grinding out and selling and working in the business instead of on the business. And then I know you talked about it, and I think you mentioned her again. You talked about on the previous podcast, you went out and you got yourself a COO, correct?
Yeah, well, she was
promoted her?
internally.
Right.
Yeah, we promoted her because that was my position.
Right.
And then once I was going out and doing more consulting and being out of the office, we had some other people in the position, and we just needed to put somebody else in place and say, okay, you have the authority to do all of this. But I think to your point is, it's like anything. It's going back to health. I've spoken about it before to audiences about change. Change happens for a variety of reasons. There's either I need to, I don't have a choice, you're going to die, fix this. There's I want to, but there has to be for the want to. Not everybody is disciplined enough to do it themselves. So you need accountability coach, or you need somebody else to help you, or someone around you to push you through the tough times to say, hey, you said you were going to do this, which is why you see a lot of people posting on social media.
Sure, hold themselves accountable.
That's their way of holding count. And then you have the want to, and then it's the I'll get to it, or I don't really have to change. I'm pretty good. And maybe you are. But if you're saying, I don't really need to change, I'm good, then you got to, the other pieces, then I better make sure I'm doing whatever I'm doing at 100%.
Right.
Because if I start slacking off on that and getting comfortable, then I am going to lose, right? But I agree with you. You have to make it a priority to say, these things have to get done. For me personally, with my writing, I was finding I was falling behind in what I had promised to the team, promised to the company, to say I would generate content on a weekly basis, or I'd rush it versus saying, okay, I had to go back and say that result wasn't good enough for me. What was going on? I had to sort of do what I do for other companies.
Yeah, but
So I had to start it on a different day.
In my
and do it.
opinion, you make it look easy, though, because just from looking at my perspective, you seem to enjoy it and you're good at it. I don't know which comes first. You're good at it, so that thus you enjoy it. But that specifically, creating content, that's in your wheelhouse, kind of, is it not? Or is that just how perception is?
It is. I like sharing. That's the way I try to help people is
Yeah.
push out content. But
Right.
it's not easy for me. I'm becoming a better writer.
Yeah.
So I have a gentleman, Ryan, on my team who edits my stuff.
Right.
And I keep asking him, what do I need? And he now tracks shows me all the changes he made. Some are better than others. Some I'm going, oh my God, what was it? He said, well, you write sometimes the way you speak.
Right. Yeah. We all
So
do.
you're not writing for writing. He goes,
Right,
sometimes
right.
writing, when you're writing something to be read, it's different than very off the cuff.
Yeah. When we did the Unfair Advantage book, did your mom edit that?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Brian, my mother used to edit some of my stuff as well. We now have somebody
really cool.
full time.
I sent in a 10,000 word sentence.
I can only imagine.
I mean,
can't-
literally.
You should apologize to his mother right now.
And it came back, and it was like, wow, I cannot believe how smart I am.
I'll have
And
to.
I mean, it didn't even. I mean,
I have to decode his emails to the staff. Like he'll send out this bit straight from his phone. Of
He's
course.
like Hemingway.
Nothing from
There's
a
no
laptop.
punctuation.
And it's just random thoughts here. So I'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, guys, here's what he's trying to say. Let me
You're the
paraphrase a little
interpreter.
bit
Yeah,
here.
I'm interpreting this.
But so anyway, what I was getting to though is, and it does tie back to what we want to talk about today, as far as constructing the ideal dealership, is delegating, is knowing when it's time to delegate and finding the right person to delegate to. And I think that's a big problem in dealerships. And you mentioned sometime on the previous podcast that the automotive industry is a business of distractions, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned it's reactionary, and we just accept that. But that's not okay. That's not the way it should be. And I think a lot of it is because of lack of delegation and people at the top feeling they have to have their hands in everything that they probably shouldn't have their hands in, and don't get to spend time or make time for bigger picture stuff, culture, things of that nature.
Yeah, it goes, and for you guys when you're out training, and when I train, but very similar to that is, for you guys, it is this concept of time. I got to rush, give you enough to get you out on the floor doing something. So
Right.
when you need me, come back. So now I've created you being dependent on me.
right.
God forbid I'm not there. You're going, I don't know what to do. The other fear is, and it is a real fear for some people in management positions of, if I trust you and you're out there doing a great job, someone's going to say, well, then why do I have you? And they don't get that. They get the fact that if all of you guys are doing your job, then I can really do my job better, versus I have to try and do my job and I'm doing half of your job, because I look at it as a wasted cost. I don't think we talk about it enough in terms of wasted revenue, potential revenue loss, because if I'm out helping you all the time do your job, I'm not generating revenue for me.
Right.
I could be spending, if I spend, let's say I have a sales team and I spend a third of my week in bits and pieces, but if I actually penciled it out, a third of my week, so let's say 15 hours. 15 hours of my time is helping you do your job. Now, if I'd really trained you well enough to do your job, you should be able to do it yourself. I'm not. What could I
good
do
point.
with those 15 hours to
Right.
generate money on top of what you're doing? And
Right.
I don't think we talk about that missing
No.
cost enough.
No, of course.
Opportunity cost,
No,
absolutely.
That's right.
Big
All right, so let's spin into two other things here. So, okay, so again, that's coming up when? What's the name of that conference?
The Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit in November
in November. What's
in
the date?
Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, God, off the top of my head, I think 19th, 20th, 18th, 19th.
Where do they
20th.
go to find out?
They can go to Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit. Type that in. The website will come up, or they
Okay.
can just reach out to me and I'll send them a link.
Are you guys still doing DMSC?
Yeah, always out in Napa.
Yeah.
In May.
I enjoyed.
Napa?
I think I only.
Napa.
Did I hear Napa?
Yeah,
Can I go that one?
well, it's pretty.
That's a nice one.
It's
That's all right.
it's
No, no, no.
It's
You
pretty,
said enough. You
It's
said
pretty
enough.
highfalutin.
Yeah, you said enough.
I tell you
Yeah,
what,
okay.
I went to one. I spoke at a couple, I think, but the one I enjoyed the most was right prior to NADA, and I can't remember where it was. Orlando, maybe.
Yeah, Orlando. At the
It was in the
airport.
airport.
It was
Right.
at the airport. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I mean, it was well attended. I mean, it was like my room was packed, which, you know, people don't typically go into recruiting presentations, which is stupid. But my room was packed. What's her name from CBT was there? Bridget?
Yeah, Bridget. Yeah.
She was there interviewing. It was really a nice setup.
Yeah.
And but I don't know if you remember this, but Pollock, I think, ended it.
Yeah, Dale. Yep.
Right. And talked about Google and getting into the car business. And I left that going, okay, well, it's all over. We're done. I mean,
Right.
like, everybody's done. Like, if Google wants to, it's done. And he's so freaking smart.
Yeah.
So when when he speaks, or at least my perception of him is he's so freaking smart.
He
But-
is. No, your
Right.
perception's
I'd
right.
imagine he's pretty smart.
So I'm sitting there going, okay, well, it's all right. It's game over.
Let's go find something else to do.
Right? Yeah. Let's. What can I do? Let's see, I'm too old to play baseball. So, but it was really well done. But you guys still do that one, right?
Yeah, we
Napa.
do 2 conferences. We do the one in Napa, and now we do the one in Florida as well.
Right.
Because we did it on both coasts because a lot of people will not go
Right,
from the
yeah,
East
of
Coast
course,
out
right.
to California
Right,
or
yeah.
vice versa.
Right. Yeah.
And but the Napa one's great.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. You can invite us to those to speak or whatever you'd like to do.
Bring him out to drink.
Yeah.
You'd invite me out to speak.
That's right.
Go on the wine tastings, which are lovely.
Joe, just real quick, and we'll pivot into something else. Him just saying that just put something into my head that I'm so proud of. When was it? Innovative Dealer Summit. Mm-hmm. That's the Colorado thing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's-
in
Yep.
Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've spoken at, I don't know, half a dozen of those. But this last time, not this past one, the one
Year
before
before
that,
Yeah.
I brought Joe. And Joe and I are on stage speaking together, quote unquote, air quotes for those of you not watching. We took turns speaking.
Right.
And days afterwards, and then I posted it, I'm pretty sure that's probably been the only time that a father and son have spoken at an automotive conference at the same time in the same room. I can't think of any other father-son.
The only one, well, it depends how big. I know Mark Tewart's
Mark just
son.
started doing it with his son
Oh,
this
that's
year.
right,
Jake-
just recently.
Jake
But we did it
started.
first.
Yeah, we did it before.
We
Mark.
did it first.
Yeah, we love you, Mark, but we did it first. Yeah, but it was like, you know how you are
Yeah,
with
of
kids, and
course.
especially with your boys. It was like, wow, man, I'm so proud of this. It's just
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
and it's like, if you had told me that this kid, man, 20 years ago was going to be doing anything even close to what he's doing now, I'd have said, well, you are smoking way too much weed, dude.
Right.
I mean, it was like, I can remember taking a phone call about him freaking out about one of his classes or something he had to do for a class was around public speaking, and just was losing his mind. And now it's like,
Comes back to Mr. Dinkus. I mentioned him the last time I was on.
yeah,
He was
that's
my
right.
teacher.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I remember that.
I was terrified of public speaking,
Yeah,
so
terrified.
I waited until my senior year of college to take Intro to Public Speaking, and I'm in there with a bunch of 18-year-olds, because you're supposed to take it in your
Right.
first semester. But my teacher was awesome, and by the end of the first week, I was just good to go. But that was my first big time speaking at a conference.
Yeah, my oldest
yeah.
son is
It
a
was
little
awesome.
like that. He can do it. He just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
When he has to,
Right.
he can, and he does a phenomenal job. But
How old is he?
14. Left to
Yeah, well, some of this stuff just
their
comes off
school.
on him.
Their school, his school had things where the whole school, he went to a smaller school, or the whole school once a year would have to stand in front and, it was poetry night.
Oh.
Everybody had to read poetry.
Oh,
Another
okay.
time, everybody had to get up and read something because
There's a school like that in New Jersey.
yeah,
A
you
public
have
school?
to. No, it was a private school. Now
Okay.
he's going. But the public schools are getting people because they realize that to be able to talk to someone and present your ideas in a logical sense is really important.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fear is misplaced. Once you flip the switch, like your teacher probably flipped the right switch, and people have asked me about speaking, and someone reached out to me who said, I've never spoken. What tip would you give me? And I said, well, once you hit the stage, be prepared.
Yeah,
Right. Know
that's what
your
I was gonna
stuff.
say, right.
But it's not about you. What do you want to teach the audience?
Right.
Right. So that's your key. What are the 2 or 3 things
Right.
you
Establish
want-
a goal for that.
that you want them to leave with?
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Just like if you were sitting at a table
And state it.
and then once you hit the stage, it's not about you.
Right.
It's about them. So teach them. And that pulls you out of your head to go, well, I hope they like me. What do they think? Right. If you're in your head, but if I'm focused on you to say, well, let me show you how to do this. Let me teach you how to do this.
Right.
You're no longer thinking about yourself, and time just flies by
Right.
and you go, oh,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah.
Because you didn't care about yourself.
It's true. Years ago, when David Johnson was helping us a lot, and David and I he went with me. I was so freaked out about this for some reason. I had spoken, I don't know, 75 times before, but I was going to Dearborn to speak in front of Ford. And it's a deal I'm glad we didn't get. Some of those deals are
Right.
left alone. But he gave me a book, and he circled this in marker. And he said, any presentation, have a stated goal, like to your point that you just made, and then tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Yep.
Yeah, that was our first class.
And it
that
was
right there.
like,
It's that simple.
that made everything, all the previous, whatever many times I'd spoken, like, oh, crap. I wish I'd known that
But it's
for the last
simplify.
50.
It keeps you grounded in simplicity.
Yeah. And it helps the audience understand. They actually hear and listen and actually retain something, because the retention at a conference in these presentations are
Yeah, well,
next.
you got to have the structure. I see a lot of people
Have
go
to.
up there and wing it.
Well,
and I'm like,
there's a couple things too. I've participated over the last couple of months in a Facebook group for speakers, because I want to do more speaking outside of automotive as well. But he was great because he was saying, there's a difference between keynotes versus presentations versus workshops, where keynotes you can get away with not really telling everybody, here's what you're going to learn.
Well, that's right.
Because that's not. The keynotes
Broad
are to
concepts
inspire
and
you and
inspiration,
motivate you,
Right.
versus when you're in a workshop, you're going to say, okay, for the next 45 minutes, we're going to work on these 3 things.
Right.
And then you go in them, okay, here's a summary. Here's what we learned in this 45 minutes, because you want them to leave and go, I know how to do this, versus broad, think about it. You've all seen Brian Benstock, who I think is a really phenomenal speaker.
for sure.
When he's doing a keynote, right, there's nothing versus if he was doing a workshop on how I do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Completely different styles.
Right.
Because again, it's broad brush. You don't have a specific audience where it's, think of all the speakers you've had on your show so far. If Anthony Alagonda is in a room with BDC managers, it's completely different than if he's doing a keynote about
Correct. Oh, that's right.
stuff to the
Right.
dealers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
No
Broad
question.
brush,
Right.
you, nuts and bolts, let's go. Here's what we're going to learn. You're going
Right.
to walk out of here. You're going to be able to do this.
Right.
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 So-
Yeah. And I really do want to pivot into what I wanted to talk about today.
Squirreling.
but
We're squirreling.
this- Yeah, we are squirreling.
Frank,
a
our
little bit.
entire show is squirreling, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
how
cool.
Much.
Hopefully,
I like to think of it as snowballing.
Snowballing is good.
You touch on something like to retract this back to where this conversation started. I wouldn't know, but it leads into so much good stuff. You can't just stop it right in the middle of
You're
it.
ab- you're absolutely
that was
right.
the whole philosophy behind the podcast.
Well, a lot of people, and I have not spoken anywhere this year. This is the first year in a very long time that I haven't, and it was a conscious decision not to. When I spoke or when I speak, I've been every single time. It's like, Craig, they got zero. You've given them zero reason to retain you. Mm-hmm. You've given them so much. I mean, when we speak, we get down to
Sure.
this has got to be, this word here has to be singular, not plural. I mean, that's how specific we get in our presentations. So when someone leaves there, if they actually heard us, if they actually took notes, and if they actually have the authority, ability, willingness to go back and do the things we're doing, they really don't need to hire us.
Yeah,
But think about that. That's that rule I think we talked about last time. It's the rule of thirds.
Rule of thirds. I got it written down in my notes over here. I want
So
talk about
to
that.
your point is,
Important.
but there's a reason why. Think about this. What did you tell me when I walked
I know,
in this
no,
morning? You
no.
said, man, we're killing it. We've never been busier. Why? Because you're seen as a trusted resource. You have the people who take all the notes from you and can go do it. And one, they're going to say it works.
Right.
So when their 20 group person goes, I don't know how to do it, they're going, this is the guy you need to go talk to because
Yes.
look what he did for me.
Yes.
But I can do it. You,
Yes.
you're not as good as me.
Right.
We already know that.
You need help.
Right.
Right.
And then you have the people
Good
who are
point.
going to go, I'm going to do it and don't. And then the other people who are going to go, oh my God,
That's
I
too
really need help.
complicated. Yeah.
But the key is, I want that other third who's doing it themselves, who love you. They're going to show up to your workshops.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say, what else is going on? They may end up coming to you. I don't need all of this, but do you have this little piece? And you're
Yeah,
going,
right.
yes,
Correct.
I can help you.
I mean, we have. You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know if I want to get into the guy's name and everything, but we have a dealership that came, was a client of ours, came, really did what I told them to do. Mm-hmm. We lost the business.
It's okay.
And then maybe 6 months ago, reached out and said, hey, you know what? I need help with this.
Right.
Just like you just said.
Of course.
I mean, it happened just like that.
Because you what basically said, you don't need me. It's
Right.
a funny thing when you tell people you don't need me, or when I book a client, somebody brings me in to help them with their process. I said, if I'm good at what I do, and if you listen to me and we do what we're supposed to do, and you hold your people accountable,
Right.
I should be able to get out of your hair in 6 months.
Yeah, right.
If not, then I'm not doing any good. I'm doing a disservice to everybody. Now, maybe you say, okay, we're done with that. Can you stay? I mean, I've had clients who go, can I point you at that department now? And now can I point you at that department? Because things are happening. But you shouldn't, if you're there 2 years doing the same thing over and over, either you stink or you're not really doing, you stink at what you do, or you're purposely not giving them everything, so that way they need you. You're creating dependent dealerships or
Right.
businesses.
That's right.
Which is not a good position anyway.
All right.
All
Here-
right, you got to do your reads.
Speaking of that, let's
Thank your sponsors.
yes, thank you, sponsors. Appreciate all the bazillion dollars you guys give us. All you guys,
with a
hey,
B?
listen, for those of you that are listening, and I know Jason's on there, and I'm going to do a Tacobi ad right now. You guys are all due for a price bump, so just telling you right now. Matter of fact, you're a month late, I think.
I booked a lunch for us with our ZipRecruiter rep, so we're moving
Oh.
moving forward. We're getting closer to
Awesome.
sponsorship from ZipRecruiter.
I could retire with ZipRecruiter money. Tacobi, Jason, I'm going to read this word for word. Tacobi. Wouldn't you love to capture interested buyers while they're looking at your ad and interact with them immediately? Well, sure you would, and now you can. By using Facebook lead generation ads plus Tacobi software, you're able to capture interested buyers and respond instantly to them using text message, engaging the customer throughout the car buying process. With Tacobi, you have the ability to follow up by text, import other lead sources, and text blast up to 500 customers within minutes. Didn't they change that? Is it more now? I think it's more now.
501.
It's 501. Visit Tacobi.com. That's right, Tacobi.com. Let me spell that for you. That's one of those cool words. It's like Google. I like Tacobi. Jason, you might want to. Do we know why he called it Tacobi? Did we ever get the
already
rundown on
discussed
that?
this on here.
Okay, all right, then. Stop yelling. You
Don't
don't
go
have to yell
down
at me,
that
son.
rabbit hole. now.
Our repeat viewers don't want to hear the
All
same
right,
stuff over
that's
and
right.
over.
All right. Tacobi, Tecobi.com. Tacobi.com. Learn how you can instantly message with your new leads. Great source. They're doing a lot of things. I think they just went to. Are we there, or did we just leave there? Did we just get them more people?
No.
Okay. I thought I saw something that
No,
we're going
we
to.
did not.
This is why it's on my notes here. You talked about how your brother was always, idea person, and you were the process person. Idea person, process person.
Yeah, pretty much.
He'll check in every
I
once
like
in a
your
while.
pop, I like your
What are we
pop
doing?
figure.
Yeah, this was a Father's Day gift from my girls.
We just went to the
And
Funko Pop in Seattle.
No way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's gotta be
It's
wild.
Awesome. I'll show you pictures later.
Yeah.
It
Cool.
is nuts.
There's a pop of everything.
Pretty much, and you can
Literally
make your own
everything.
pop figure there too.
No way.
Yeah.
We're squirreling.
That's all right.
We were house hunting last year when we moved to Delaware, and we went in this one basement, and it was like a pop museum.
Huh.
And we almost bought the house because of that. I was like, this is really
Could
cool.
I have that too?
Right.
They're expensive, I'll tell you.
They are expensive.
One collector, and then we'll get to the thing. One collector was telling me that the boxes are just as valuable, sometimes
Jesus,
more than
is
the
that right?
figure,
Well, that makes
because
sense.
people take the boxes and throw them
Yeah.
away. If you have a clean box of
Sure.
something, the box itself could be worth $500.
Wow.
Huh.
That's why they have those pop protectors. Have you seen the plastic cases you
Yeah.
slip your pop figure in?
Jason just put in there it's 1,000. It's not
Oh,
500.
there you
so.
go.
Look at him. He's big time.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank
God
you,
bless you,
Jason.
Jason.
Well, and that's, and again, we want to talk about Tacobi a little bit, but you guys talked about that on the previous show, how giving out information, aside from building relationship and becoming an expert on whatever your subject may be, Ernie mentioned it changes so much, it doesn't really matter. And I went back and looked at some of the videos that we talked about, the Recruit to Retain series and a lot of stuff with tech recruiting. And I mean, that was a year ago. And I'm like, yeah, we don't do that anymore.
I know.
But you know what? The interesting thing was to that point is the flip side to that. I went through. So we were talking earlier. I'm going to beginning of the year. I'll do a podcast, and I've been putting down stuff, content creation, everything. So I went back and just wrote down the titles of every piece of content for the last few years, either that I posted on LinkedIn or my personal site or on PCG Digital site. And as I'm writing, here's 2017. I'm going back 2016, then 2015. And the funny thing is, how much of it is still the same?
Right.
Yeah,
Reviews
there
are
is.
important. Training this, maximize your marketing. Why are you doing this? And yeah, maybe the technique, but it's this concept of it's like some things haven't changed.
That's
it's
true.
still that
Yeah.
same.
There's no question. Yeah.
Right. But
That's
you
true.
you had mentioned, to get back to Jason and the stuff they do, how you guys would check in and Google's making an update or a change
Oh God!
every
It,
week.
it probably gives him a
And
headache.
it's- I know it's the
every
same thing
single
with
time
Facebook.
Facebook changes something.
Gotta be.
Jason's
Right.
Gotta be.
having
Constant.
another nightmare.
Right. Well, I think that's one of the main reasons Tacoby decided to bring a lot of that work in house with the ninjas and have them handle the leads and so forth.
Well, I think it's more about the tech side of it and the stuff that he does and he
Yeah.
does with their CTO.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they exist, is because, when I'll talk to dealers about Facebook, you're doing it, yeah, we tried it, but we've tried it.
Yeah.
We don't know what the hell we were doing.
Right.
To go in there and actually try and do it
Yeah.
yourself
Now,
is hard.
yeah. Well, and we brought on somebody with a lot of technical know-how here recently. So,
Yeah, we took a cue from you and decided we needed to start marketing ourselves
There you go.
better.
right,
So
exactly.
I
we
agree.
hired a
We-
director of marketing. We're like, this is dumb. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah, I'm just shotgunning it. And
Right.
we're just making it up as we go along with social and so forth.
the funny thing is you can be successful just through grassroots
Right.
Yeah.
and through your referral, but
Yeah.
there's just so many other people that don't know you
Yeah.
Right.
that
Yeah.
could use
Right.
your help.
Right.
There's other people that have. Joe Gillespie from Dealery Process used to always, we would joke, as big as you think you are, you go to a dealer at a conference, hi, I'm the CEO of Dealery Process, and they're going, who the hell are you? And
Exactly.
you're going, wow, I thought I was big.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
Mind-blowing.
So
We're in business 22 years, 18,000 plus recruiting campaigns. No one's even come close to numbers like these. And it's like, yeah.
we're really nobody.
Yeah, we're really nobody. Yeah. It's like, just like, well, these guys know about us and these guys know about us. But chances are, when you take numbers like that.
But if you say 18,000, right, that was your number,
yeah.
and you basically think there's 18,000 franchise
Right, we've been
dealerships, you
everywhere
did
once.
one campaign for everybody over the last 20-something years.
Right.
Everybody gets one.
Right.
And think of the changeover of turnover of all these people. They don't know who the hell you are.
No, one of our trainers ran into a guy the other day that graduated out of an AutoMax class 11 years ago and got a really awesome review from him. But it's so you start thinking about, we've also placed 175,000 men and women
Sure.
in all different positions. And it's like, it's a interesting feeling. It's very weird that takes
Yeah,
place.
that's awesome.
And we're gonna. I mean, it's like a little not a little. There's quite a bit of self promotion here. We have a chance at hitting 40 recruiting campaigns this week alone, which it's hard for people to understand what that means. But that's like having a 150 car Saturday, guys. I mean, it's like it's a big deal. I mean, it's like.
Depends on how long this podcast goes, whether or not we can get to that.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Might
All right,
get to
so
38.
I got things to do,
all right,
guys.
to that point, let's do this. All right, so we're going to build a dealership.
Okay.
We have a blank piece of paper. Matter of fact, we don't even have the dirt yet. We got to go buy the dirt. So let me ask you this: in your guys' opinion, with digital, with the world as it is today. Do we need? I read something in LinkedIn the other day about most sought after spot, where people are moving to and where people are moving away from. Seems LinkedIn covers that once a month, basically. But like Austin, people are moving to Austin. People are moving to Seattle. People are moving to warm weather climates in droves. People moving to Florida, and so on and so forth. So, is it important? How much importance should we put? Now we've been awarded a franchise. I don't know that it matters what it is. We've been awarded a franchise, new point, fresh point. We get to pick. does it matter about the population, about the demographics of the population? I know it does in on some of the things on how we're going to run our company, but initially, how important is it where we buy that piece of dirt with today's technology and so forth? What would you guys say? How important it really is that piece of dirt where it's located?
What?
Are we better off in Austin, Texas, which is building leaps and bounds? Are we okay in, I don't know.
Well, I think part of it is
Somewhere
knowing your market. I don't know that it matters so much now within a certain city or in an area. Yeah, I think it does matter because presentations, you guys talked about it with Troy, where you're constantly advertising, you're constantly marketing. Even when they come to the dealership, you're advertising and marketing. So I think, yeah, location does matter, but going broader outside that, you have to know your market and you have to know the area and you have to know the demographics. So I think that would matter. If you're not from that area and you're just, I'm going to pick up and I'm going to go sell cars in Orlando, Florida, and you're from Michigan, or heck, you're from California, or let's talk about California. You're from the Midwest and you're going to move out to California and build a dealership there and you know nothing about it.
Right.
I think that would be a problem.
Yeah, perhaps. We have a client in Chicago that is in an area where would dictate to him, looking at it from where his physical dealership is at, and the demo around his dealership would lend itself very well to secondary, but wants nothing to do with it. Knows they would probably net him another $2.5 million, $3 million a year. Knows it. Got zero interest.
Well, I think
Doesn't want that person.
Well,
in
I
the
think
show.
you have to take it a step back even before that. You have to decide a couple things: how big you want it to be.
Right. Okay.
Right. So if you say to yourself, "Well, I want to sell 500 cars a month," that's different than if I sold 150 based on my numbers and what I think my profit's going to be. I'm good with that. Right. I'm good with that versus it was what we had said earlier, that whole, well, if I sell 150, do I get to 200? Can I get to 500? Now, if you say I have to be, I need 500. Well, you can't go into rural market where small, you then have to really do it. And, how you get to that with decisions, I just know if I want to sell 300 cars a month or 350, I have to be in a spot that's visible, meaning traffic going by, because that is, as much as online, people still drive by it and they're, oh, that's you. Yep. I know where that is. It has to have a big enough market for turnover and influx, because if you're in a market where the town, put it this way, the town next to us, when I grew up in North Plainfield, New Jersey, the town Greenbrook used to have its own high school. Problem was nobody ever moved in or moved out, more or less. So once those kids moved out, they didn't have enough kids for the high school. So they shut the high school down and then they bus the kids to the regional, Watchung Regional High School. So that's what you have to think about too, is that do I have enough turnover of influx of people? Because if nobody moves, I sell for now, but 10 years from now, well, what am I doing? You also have to know your market. To your point is it more leasing or is it more financing? Because if it's or a mix, because if it's all financing and I sell my pocket of people, but they're all in 72-month finance, well, they're not coming back for 6 years. I'm just looking out the window going, well, who's next? Unless I have a turnover of people. So I think that's more of where you get to, and then saying, well, I need this amount. Now, digital can help you, even if we have clients that are what we'll call destination stores. They're outside 20, 30 miles outside of the major metro. And through marketing, you can get people to want to come out to you.
Right. Well, you have that Cummings situation in Paris, Kentucky.
Exactly.
I don't know how far they are from Louisville, but or not Louisville, Lexington.
Right.
They got to be relatively close, but like not like right on the suburbs. But I mean, they're selling 1,000 cars a month or whatever they're selling. I don't know.
Well, that comes down to looking at that story. That comes what we were talking earlier is they looked at, I want customers for life.
Right.
Not just customers for today.
Right.
So if I'm building a dealership, I'm putting in processes and building everything to say, I want to be I think we talked about the last time on this podcast, which was my father bought from a person, and wherever that person went, we drove those vehicles. So I want to take it a step further, not just Joe is on my salesperson. It's Joe's Jeeps, and I always drive Jeeps or whatever else he's selling. That building,
Right.
anybody I talk to, it is,
Right.
yes, I want Joe. I have a personal relationship, but anybody who I talk to is delivering that great experience. And now I just go, that's where I go buy my vehicle.
Yeah.
It's a customer for life versus I got my quick kill. I sold my number. Yay. And that person goes, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, that's bullshit. That's a recipe for
Well, you can sustain
Out
that
of business soon.
in a market where there's tons of people in Austin.
Yeah.
Again, not just picking
Maybe,
on Austin.
right.
You said Austin. But if I want to sell 150 cars a month and I'm good with that,
right.
or 200, I
Right.
can do that in Austin. I'm never burning through the population.
Right,
I
never.
mean, because I can market and get enough people in the door and I'll sell my things and I'm never going to wear them out. I may not get repeat business. I might get some.
Right.
But if my mentality is, I don't really care as long as I sell 200 cars every
Yeah.
single month, which I think that mentality is drifting away. But I'm sure there are people that
Right.
go, as long as I got my money, I'm
Right.
good.
Well, that's an interesting place to start. Is how do you establish that? Like, who do I want to be? Do I want to be number one? Do I want to be the big volume King Kong dealership, or do I want to make a nice living? I wonder. I mean, do people actually think like that when you're buying a dealership?
Well, yeah, I
When
think I think we probably got ahead of ourselves with talking about location. I think
Yeah,
you got to
maybe.
go back in the planning a little bit to general philosophy and culture and
Perhaps.
start there.
Yeah, I guess.
and
then
why do you
everything
want to
else-
be a dealer? I mean, again,
Right.
what Joe was saying, either I came up through automotive or I know something about automotive. I mean,
Yeah.
just jumping in automotive without having any sort of planning, it would be running a gym and I have no idea about health.
Yeah.
Buying a restaurant, I have no idea. I just like food.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things. And your comment earlier was how this, little exercise is about delegation, being able to say, I have no idea, but you do. So I need your brains to help me into this. So, again, we can go squirrel down this, but if you just say, listen, all right, we assume that they want to sell X number, pick a number.
Right.
They found the right location.
Okay. Let's do
And
that.
they got the building, and the building's nice because the manufacturer has a lot of say in the building. I can't just put what I want. I can do a
Correct.
little bit.
Right.
But then you say, okay, then I think the better conversation is saying, well, what's the experience I want when somebody gets here? And
Okay,
how do
let's
I
go
build
there.
that?
All right, let's start there. All right, so we own the dirt, we own the building,
Everything's set.
everything's set.
I got enough inventory.
Right.
I'm good.
Okay, so then we're going to say, and do we all agree on that? That we're going to start with customer experience. How do we want our clients treated when they call, text, email, look at, walk in, communicate with us, engage with us in any form or fashion? How do we want that to go?
Well, again, we're going to keep leaning on Joe here because he thinks like I do. Before you even get to that,
Okay.
there has to be a general overarching feel, right? All of those are tactical places that they touch, right? Customer touch point. It's more because how I chat, if I'm answering their question on email, phone, when they walk in here, it still has to take a step back of saying, are we trying to be the easiest dealership to do business with, right? Is our mantra that, and again, it's an overused word, transparency, meaning I just want to make this easy. I already know it's complicated.
Right.
I know it's hard. There's so much information on the website or online about cars and pricing. Your head hurts. So if you say, I want to be the dealership in my market that everybody can get the information from, I'm an information portal, so they can get any question answered online in the store, wherever they want. Number two is when they interact with us, we're serving, right? We're helping them through this. We're not pushing. We're leading them. We're walking right side by side going, what do you need? And we make it easy to do business. We're going to remove obstacles from the process. Now, if you say, okay, that's good. And then what do we want people to say when they leave? That was easy. That was great. They made me feel
Right.
a part of this. They didn't intimidate me. I felt comfortable, right?
Right.
Those are the words you start hearing, very much like a restaurant would be or anything. Boy, they took care of me. They made me feel good. They made me feel special. Like those are the words. So if you start building that word cloud of saying easy, fast, right? Brian did it in his book, Just Faster, when he polled people saying, what would you like your next car buying experience to be? The biggest words that came out were easier, faster, mostly online, and in my control. Right? So now you start saying, okay, well, that's a good starting point. Plus, I want them to feel comfortable and I want them to feel good about their purchase. And right. So then you say, okay, then you can sit back and say, okay, how do we do that? How do we physically do that? Then you start checking the boxes saying, where do our customers touch us? Right? They do the phone. Okay, let's look at that. What do we have to do in order to align with what those words are and what that experience is? Then chat. Are you the right chat? And see, now once you have that, then it's easier to go hire a good chat company that matches that. You can hire people that can do that. I can get a website platform to do it. I can get marketing agency to do it because I have a sort of a North Star that's not price, not big inventory. It's, I want to make it faster. Okay, well then what obstacles are we throwing in people's ways that it's not fast? It's easy, mostly online. Okay, what do I have to do? Right. Okay. I think you start. Then I think it's easier to have these conversations to say, what do we do?
And I'd actually go back from that, and because I'm always in a recruiting mindset, is okay. Well, now I have my vision. I know what I want the customer experience to be. Now it's my job from the top up, all the way from my GM down. I have to find people that are capable of facilitating that.
But it's easier for you to hire versus, oh, you have experience? Come on in.
Exactly.
You can basically say, well, these are the qualifications
or skills. People I need.
It's two things. It's one, what are the skills? Not skills to sell. I can teach you the skill. What are the qualities of people that I want on my team? Then do I have, I go back to those 4 pillars again. Do I have everything documented of what I need them to do? Am I training them short-term, long-term to get it done? Who's holding them accountable? How are we holding ourselves accountable to that North Star? Right? That North Star over there. So then it's how do we retain our customers? How do we keep them coming back? Well, if we're doing that.
Right. Well, and we've been talking a lot about lately that if you really, truly, no baloney, because we all say we're going to do this, but the better we treat our employees, the happier they are, the more secure they feel, the more motivated they are, the more inspired they are, all those things, the better employees we have, team members, it's almost a given that our customer experience is going to be better.
But if you have all of that, and I totally 100% agree with you. Richard Branson used to always say that. You know, how you treat your customers, you should be treating your employees the same way. If you want your customers to be treated this way, hire the right people. There's levels of built-in, either there's morning meetings and role play and I'm building skills, or we're watching some training video and we're teaching you how to implement, and somebody's really that coaching mentality of accountability in a positive way, right? Hey, you're doing great. Keep doing it. Here's why you're successful. Hey, we got to tweak this, right? It's that coaching mentality. And by the time you have to replace somebody, they know it's coming and they're shaking your hand going, hey, Joe, sorry I let you down. Versus, and you're going, what the hell? I thought I was doing a good job.
Right. So at this point, if we have land building, inventory, so on and so forth, and we have a mindset of faster, easier, and the rest of the
mostly
stuff
online, right?
Right, mostly online, and then we've staffed our dealership to mirror that, to make that easier. At what point do we sit down as business owners of a dealership and say, or do we even do this? Is this how it happens? Okay, here's the stuff that I'm good at, I'm good at. Here's the stuff that I'm interested in, I'm going to learn more about, and I'm going to DIY this stuff. And here's the stuff where I'm going to vendor out, that I'm going to look for help. Do dealers do that? Do dealers sit down and go, okay, I'm good at this.
Well, if we're doing it the way that we're doing it here again, I think that should have already been laid out. That comes with staffing for me. That comes with surrounding yourself, and you talked about it, knowing that you fall short on something. And this is an emotional intelligence thing, checking your ego, knowing I'm not good at this, so I'm going to hire somebody to do this. Right. Or, you do capital budgeting decisions and you say, well, it's cheaper to outsource this, so now I'm going to find a vendor instead of hiring a full-time person to do this. So that's where it would come in for me is yes, recognizing your own personal strengths and weaknesses and realizing where you're going to need help and being honest with yourself about it.
Yeah. Do they do that though, or do we? No, it's our business. It's our dealership.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
what are we going to do? So are we going to
Get into
wait
specifics
and
on-
see, or
Well, no, I think if you map out, right? So for me personally, what I would be doing is mapping out what I want to happen.
in
and
regard
here-
to, like what? What do you mean?
Well, if you're going to say we're going to do faster and we want people to feel great, then you'd have to get you'd have to have a huge whiteboard.
Yeah, storyboard, right.
And then you'd have to do the octopus tentacles
Yeah.
of saying, okay, let's look at, forget marketing for a moment. Let's just talk about touch points where a customer could interact with us.
Okay.
Okay. So we say, okay, where could they find us? If they're going to see a marketing message, where could they interact? Facebook, right? So then you sit there and say, well, we have a choice, to your point. We could do it ourselves. We could outsource it. You might turn around and look around and go, we have too many other things.
Right.
Long term, I have one point.
Right.
I wouldn't want, me personally, I would not want to have marketing inside. I'd have somebody responsible to hold my vendors accountable, but it doesn't pencil to have that, because if I put all my eggs in one basket, Joe's here, Joe leaves, I'm screwed.
Correct.
Now, if I have a 5-store group, I'd probably take some of the stuff in, like you said, capital costs. I get more out of it because I could hire 2 people. They're doing it 40 hours a week versus even Jason, us, any vendor, you get a small amount.
Correct.
So I would sit there and say, okay, I'm going to hire Jason's company, Tacoby, to do it. I'd have to have conversations with him to say, when your ninjas are handling this, this is the way I want them answered. This is the way I want you to do it. At this point, you give them to my people. Right, we work that out. Where else? Phones. Great. Phone call comes in. Well, where does the phone go? So you got to map it out. If they dial this number, who answers that phone? How do they answer that phone? What am I empowering them to do? Simple things. Answer their question, right? If it goes to sales and the salesperson's there, then the debate goes, well, they want to know a price. I don't want to give them a price. If it's faster, easier, give them the damn price, right? So then you walk through every single touch point of where can they do it. If they land on my website and they fill out a form, what's that process? We've been working with dealers now because Brian, we were thinking about this whole concept of easier. There's certain buttons on a dealer's website on VDPs. Why do we make forms? If somebody wants, we talked about earlier, check availability. Why do I have to fill out a form? Why can't a chat pop up and go, hi, what do you want?
Yeah.
Hey, schedule a test drive. Why doesn't the chat pop up and go, hi, what do you want? I want to schedule a test drive. No
Put it on the
problem.
calendar, right.
An outsourced chat person could do it because you take a test drive anytime you want.
Right.
Right. So why that's that obstacles. Faster, why that's a delay.
Right.
Versus fast.
Right.
Right. So you start penciling all these things and then you say, okay, that's how I want it. What should happen? No, it may evolve, but you say, no, here's our script.
Right.
And then you train the person. This is the way you answer the phone. And you have to do X, Y, and Z. And then you build in the accountability. Someone has to listen to the calls and coach the person and say, hey, they asked you a question and you didn't answer them. Or, right.
And you keep coming back to something here. So you talk about, you'd like to see marketing for the most part outsourced. You talked just a minute ago about training them what to say. Mm-hmm. And then initially, when we first started with this, you talked about bringing someone on, onboarding someone, and actually training them. Training, I feel like, has to be done within the dealership.
Absolutely.
If we're building that should not be outsourced ever. No. And that's why we've kind of moved our model in the past 5 years or so to more of a recruiting company versus a training company, because it doesn't matter what we do when we're on site there. The real training takes place day after day after day on site.
And to your point is, and this is where I think you still could be a training company teaching people how to train, right? That's that workshop last time I was here. I was talking about, and I did that workshop, and it blew people's minds.
Teaching managers how to train, right?
Because they didn't know, and these people were sitting there going, "Oh, one person, he works for a vendor. They sent some people there, and he said, I think I've been hurting my team, even though I thought I was helping my team because I didn't think this way." Yeah. And I was like, "Here you go." So I think, to your point is, I think training should be internal because it can because it's just like sports, right? I really think dealerships, I've said this a lot, I worked in hospitality and restaurants for years, and I think there's a lot of similarities to that. But I think if they're structured with the sense, if dealerships were focused on delivering experience like great restaurants do, right? So if you go to a steakhouse, give me a name of a great steakhouse around here.
Palm.
The Palm. Okay. Right. You're telling me that those men and women who wait tables couldn't sell cars?
Oh, yeah, they're phenomenal. Right.
They're phenomenal because somebody trained them,
Absolutely.
right? So they went through training. This isn't Applebee's. This isn't Houlihan. This is the Palm, right? And they're going to teach you about wine and teach you about food, and they're going to teach you about all that other stuff. It's short-term, long-term. There's always training. The other thing that I always say about restaurants is when you go to the Palm, you can always spot, if you know who to see, excuse me, there's managers on the floor watching service. And they see if something's happening ahead of time. If you're talking or if someone's waving someone over there, what's going on? They get in there before there's a problem, right? So if dealerships looked at it that way and said, I want to create that experience because the Palm sells steaks. Give me another steakhouse out here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million.
Give me another one.
Ruth's Chris.
Okay, so Ruth Chris. Now, you can sit there and say, well, mine's dry aged a little bit better, whatever, and my chef can sprinkle fairy dust on it a little better than yours. But a Nissan Rogue at yours is the same Nissan Rogue as his. So you've really gone commoditized.
Right. Yes.
Right? So now, if you focused your dealership with the same thought of, it's a steak. Right. So now I have to wrap experience around it. I have to be able to really impress people. I really have to have a higher skill, which means training, which means people on the floor watching. And it was funny, Jason yesterday, I reached up to Toronto and gave him a hug. He said when he was in a dealership working, he was a floor manager. Remember that they used to call them floor managers.
Yeah,
and now what are
my
those?
first job.
Now what are those?
Sales
Now what do
manager.
they call them now?
Sales manager.
Nope.
Closers. I don't know what do they call them.
Desk managers.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So just think about that mentality. I'm no
Right.
longer on the floor where the action
Right.
is.
Right.
I'm at a desk.
Right.
So if you built that experience as a restaurant and got out of that concept of the car is going to sell, because all cars in my mind are very similar, meaning they're all good quality. Nobody's is so horrible. And there's people who will go to Ruth Chris and didn't like Palm. People who go to Palm didn't like Ruth Chris. Okay. End of the day, if you build it that way, but you have a mentality from management like a sports team where you have coaches and constantly coaching and watching you play and giving you feedback. And we go into the CRM, it's like watching film
Right.
from sport, right?
Right.
Those two things, if you focused on that and built your teams that way, to like you said, there's training here, but I got to train somebody to train. I have to watch how they train. I have to make sure he or she knows how to coach and train and develop people, because I'm going to hold on to this salesperson hopefully for a few years, and I build that environment.
Right.
You mush those two together, a restaurant's experience with coaching mentality from sports, you'd have the best dealership around.
All right, so we're going to have. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have that kind of dealership.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right,
Internal
now,
training.
All right, so why wouldn't we? What's going to? Because there's going to be roadblocks. Because because that's a no-brainer. If we had 100 dealers right now going, oh shit, okay, yeah, that's. If I could start over again, that's exactly what I would do.
Sure.
All right. Well, they can start over again, right? But why aren't so?
I think
what would stop us? What would derail us from doing that?
I think, again, it's not clearly establishing your values, your goals, and not hiring the right people at the top. I think it all trickles down from the top and comes back to recruiting. When they're not hiring the right GM that is of the same mindset, and all he's thinking about is, we set our number of cars. Well, I got to get 300 cars out this month, so that's all I'm worried about.
Right.
So now he's hiring sales managers or desk managers that are modeled in that same philosophy, instead of looking for people who are true leaders and have the ability to train, have the ability to do that. I think that's where it all falls apart.
Right.
Now you have the wrong people
and
in the
then
wrong
the sales
positions.
manager's looking for mercenary.
Well, it's
to
how,
sell.
to your point, it's how your pay plans and how you're compensated. It's
Right.
that model. But you're absolutely right. I think it's two things. One is it's exactly what you just said from the top. But it's also this concept of time. If you said, just like we said about losing weight, I can sell 20, 30, 40 more cars this month.
Right.
Is it good for me?
Right.
I don't know.
Because I'm going to take a dump.
I
next
can do
month.
whatever I have to do, versus saying, listen, where do I want this? So one of the biggest hurdles would be saying to yourself, I'm comfortable with this growth, but a year from now, I want it to look like this. A year from now, I want it to be completely different or more or closer to that. And then you reverse engineer back and say, how do I get there? Because if you can't rush that, right? So that's your hindrance. Well, I'd like to change, but if I told you that you could do it and it'll be a year from now, you're like, oh, yeah, I think I might. Well, how do we do that? Versus I need to do it now.
Right.
And your point is, having the general manager, you're absolutely right. The reason why general managers struggle is nobody said this is how we do it. I will bet you dollars to donuts. They've replaced the general manager at the Palm. Nothing's changing at the Palm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Correct.
They're going, this is the Palm. You're working for the Palm, and I hired you to do this. Now, maybe some service will get up or some things will get tightened because the other person was lacking in that. But they don't say, hey, come on in and change whatever you want. Well, I'm changing the menu and I'm changing the tablecloths because and they're going like, you're drinking on the job, get out. But dealerships do that a lot. They, for whatever reason, again, I don't know, but I've seen it where a general manager comes in, because I've been at the dealerships working, and I come back this month. I'm like, what? Oh, we changed this. Why? Well, we got a new general manager. I'm like, why the hell did we change anything? Well, because he worked for, and 3 months later, that person's gone. I'm like, holy good Lord, man.
We're starting all over again. Right.
Yeah. And then you have employees who just go, I don't even, I'm just going to do my own thing because you're all confused over there. And then you wonder why they don't get that level of service. The Palm runs a certain way because they've decided this is how we build it. Now, they may adapt and they may change, but at the end of the day, there's a reason why you go to McDonald's, and McDonald's is the same everywhere because they decided this is the way it is. Either you like it or you don't.
Right.
You follow the rules or you don't. Right. But they just go, it ain't up to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've made a decision to go this way as we bought our dealership. Whose decisions are it's going to depend on the size of the group, I guess. If it's a single point store, the three of us can get together and go, okay, here's what we're going to do with this, here's what we're going to do with that, here's what our general manager is going to look like. But if we're back further away from that deal and not as involved daily, then it's up to the GM, right? And he or she then creates our culture.
No, it's not up to the GM.
No.
But my point is that's what's happening, though.
So they hired the wrong person.
Well, they haven't set the right process up. Do you think that, pick any large franchise? The owners aren't there all the time.
No.
Right? The person who makes all those decisions are sitting in corporate somewhere, if they're even there anymore.
Right.
The point is that even if I'm pulled far away, even if I'm not, let's say you're an absentee dealer.
Right.
I'm done. I'll put the money up. I'll do all this stuff. My name's on it, but you guys are going to run it.
Right.
You still have to say, this is the way I want my dealership to run. And we build it, and then I execute on it. Now, the key is you have to still be responsible to come back and check in and make sure things are running correctly through whatever ways you want to inspect, have your friends come in, right? That's what, when I worked at restaurants, high-end restaurants, the owner would send some of his friends in. You'd never know that it was. So how you waited tables, and then all of a sudden the owner the next day would be like, come here a minute, I had a friend in here last night and you did a great job, or they thought you did horrible, right? So their version of mystery shop, right? But to Joe's point is, no, that's where you get into trouble, is that if you just go, well, you can do whatever you want now.
Right.
If you've hired this person and we've agreed to it and his ideas of this, and you go, well, I love that, go do that.
Right.
You've agreed on this is the way it's going to run, and then it's up to him or her to go execute on it. And but you've built the process. I may not want to be in the weeds of all this stuff.
Right. They're part of the process.
Yeah, and they really probably shouldn't be that hands-on or that involved. I'd like to see more, being a true leader as a dealership owner, setting your culture, setting your values, being kind of a partner with the GM and having a clear vision with that person, so you don't have to worry about things like that. And you got to hold them accountable. You're at the top, so you do have to find ways to hold them accountable, and you should be at the store X amount of times per month.
I've seen great owners who
partner up
there.
with them, have them put a few bucks into it.
Well, that's the old Gary V thing, what he'll say is like, why don't people work as hard as I do? He's like, because they don't have a
want it.
piece. If you
Sure, it
really
doesn't
want them to
matter to
work as
them.
hard, give them a piece of the company
Right.
and they'll work hard.
Right.
No question.
Right.
No
So
question about
I
it.
just think that it all comes down to, as I said, the problem with automotive, in my mind, and why some things are very hard to change is hard, but also it was very personality based in the beginning, right? It was an owner who had some rules from the manufacturer, but they figured it out themselves. And, you talk to the old timers who said, man, it was me, another sales guy, and a finance guy, and we sold 100 cars. Well, it was less complex and everything else like that. But there was a system that we all agreed upon. The three of us all said, this is the way we all are going to do it. It wasn't your way, this way.
Right.
I think that because we have multiple people now, a lot of dealerships have 80 people, 100 people, it's the lack of consistent process. You go into a CRM, you ask Anthony next time you talk to him how many times he's gone in to work with a company, and he goes into the CRM and there's still templates from 4 trainers ago.
Right. It's nightmares.
Because nobody did the spring cleaning of saying, okay, get rid of it. Well, just in
Right.
case.
Right.
Old processes, old
Right.
phone script. Oh, well, that was an old one.
Well, how
right?
does that happen? Why does that happen?
Because nobody had a system in place that says when we get rid of them, we move to a new system, we clear out everything else.
Okay.
Everything has a process.
Right.
Everything needs to have a process that is followed. The problem is Joe used to take care of that. Well, Joe's not here anymore. How many times have you heard, well, that's what we used to do, right?
All the time.
Of course, because there wasn't a process. You don't hear that at McDonald's. Right. I was just we stopped at a rest stop. We were up in Connecticut with the kids and at a friend's house, and we were driving back, and we stopped at a service area on the Parkway. Kids wanted a donut, right, or a breakfast sandwich or something, and we stopped at Dunkin' Donuts in the the service area.
Right.
And while we're waiting online, we're waiting for the food. I look over on a table next to me is the Dunkin' Donuts manager's manual. Thick binder. So me, nosy person, I open it up because nobody was looking at it. So I open it up and I start flipping pages just to see. They have checklists for everything. Like handwritten, you have to check in, like opening checklist and closing checklist. So
Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. So I asked the person, I said, can I ask you a question? I do this type of stuff. He said, I'm the manager on duty. We have a regional person who comes in. And if I work 25 days, I was opening 25 days. If I don't have 25 checklists, if I have 22 checklists, I get my ass handed to me.
Yeah.
And everything. And it's literally, here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. Everything back there is written out. It's here's how often you move the donuts. Here's how you arrange the donuts. Here's how you do this. Here's how you dispose of this. Here's how you clean it. Like nothing is left to chance. Now, what they've done is by doing that, is it allows personality to come out on top of it, right? My personality, because I know what I'm doing.
Right.
I
Yes.
think dealers, and I think a lot of dealerships that I've seen fall prey to good salespeople, meaning that salespeople, though that 20 car person or whatever it was, they're the unicorn, they're the miracle person. And they do it and everyone goes, oh. And so anytime they've tried to put in structure, that salesperson goes, oh, no, you're cramping my style. I can't sell.
Right.
The best actors in the world go on Broadway. Those people are not making it up. There's words that somebody wrote and said, you got to say these.
Right.
And they tell the director goes, stand over here, stand over here. Stand. It isn't, I'm going to wing it. But actually, and we talked about last time as an actor, when you know the words and you know that, you actually then can actually be more free. It's
can act.
counterintuitive. The problem is that we've not put in processes in dealerships because we're afraid that some of our best salespeople will go, versus actually the 80% of the salespeople that are on the floor need that structure
Correct.
to be better.
Well, and the odds are that 20-person guy could be a 25, 30-person,
Absolutely.
30-car guy if he had a process and was actually not just winging it.
Yeah,
most
'cause
of
you
the
could
time.
probably
Right.
take-
Or the other side of that coin is that person's really not as effective. It's like efficiency in basketball. What's your efficiency score percentage shooting?
You could probably take those.
He could be costing you money.
Absolutely. He probably
Well,
or
there's
she
12
probably
guys.
is.
And we've talked about this before. It's speaks to the next level too, at mid-level management, where a lot of times we're turning those people into our managers just because
Yeah.
they're good at selling, and they have no business being managers or leaders.
Well, it goes back to they may or may not. See, I've seen both. I've seen really good salespeople become really good managers because somebody taught them how to coach a team.
Right.
Right.
Because that's a skill. That's a skill of learning of how to communicate. I still use this guy. His name was Mike Talbot. He was a regional manager for me when I was back doing customer service call centers. And he was one of the best people on the phones, really good. And he wanted to be on the floor and be a team leader first and then move up. And the first 4 months of him being was just, every month come over to me, I'm going to kill these people. I'm going to kill these people. I don't understand why they're not doing it. I can't fire everybody. I'm like, dude, stop. And I had to teach him, one, not everybody's you. Mm-hmm. You're in your position right now because you're good and I think you have the skills to do this. Problem is you have to have patience. Yeah, but I said, that's you. Not everybody's you. And it took me a long time to beat it into him. And then all of a sudden one day it clicked and he just became such a great manager and leader of people. He's now a state trooper in West Virginia. Because I knew he could, but left to his own devices, he would have been horrible at it.
Right.
So, and at the same moment in time, you can take other people who may not think they are and build them up. But it all goes back to who's training that person versus congratulations, top salesperson, you're the manager. And the only thing you remember is the manager before you who they got rid of because they weren't that good. So what are you going to do? You're going to mimic they used to yell, so I'll yell.
Correct.
Or they'll do this and I'll do this.
That's how I learned.
Right.
That's exactly what I did.
But that's not the way most people learn. We all learn by someone showing us and coaching us, and we like that. We liked our coaches. We think about our greatest teachers. They were the ones who had patience and helped us. Our coaches coached us, and they were there. Why can't we have that in automotive?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Well, that's a big problem. That's what I'd like to try to get to somehow today is how do we do that? Because would we all agree we want to retain? If we flip those numbers, the numbers of turnover in the car business and turnover of our customer are very eerily similar.
Goes back to what you said. Treat your customers, employees, and that they're going to treat your customers the same way.
Right. So we want to, I think we can agree, the three of us, that at our dealership, we're going to love on our team members. We're going to love on our employees. We're going to keep them. Unless we've made a mistake up front.
Right.
Did you hire him dead or kill him after you got him? If we hired him dead, we made a mistake, our bad. Sorry to waste 30, 60, 90 days of your time. See ya. Anyway, we screwed up. Or we put him in the wrong seat. Maybe there's another place for him in the dealership. I don't know. But how far are we going to go to really, truly retain that employee? I mean, to what lengths are we going to go?
Well, I think it goes back to what Joe said earlier. It's a couple things. One is you have to, is it a priority? Right? So if you're saying us here doing ours, it's a priority. But if you're saying, how does our friend who sits there and says, that sounds good, but I can't, well, it has to be a priority.
Got to be a priority.
Well, it's a change we talked about earlier. Either it's change you need to, or I'm shutting the store down. Or, well, it sounds good, but maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, right? It's losing weight. Well, I'm sort of working on it, but I'm still going to eat the donut.
Yeah.
Or the doctor says, if you don't stop,
right,
then you have no choice, right? That's usually when people have to, right? If the manufacturer says, if you don't fix this, I'm taking the point away, you're going, oh, shit, I guess I better do this.
Yes.
Right? So if it becomes a priority,
right,
then
regardless of how it's
if you say it's a priority, where that change has to happen is, you keep saying it. It's, are you willing to say that we're going to change our behavior no matter what happened before? The problem that still happened, well, that's not the way I was trained. You just said, that's the way I was trained. Now, you can laugh at that and go, oh, fuck, that, we don't do that anymore. Thank God. That was hell.
Right.
Like, why would you repeat and do to your people what you hated, right? I wrote an article 2 weeks ago about it. Why are you making the same mistakes that you hated in other people?
Of course.
Right?
We all do it.
But if you
Business full of
stop
it.
that, if you just say, okay, this was not good, It was not good. It was not a good environment. Even if we were sort of successful,
Right.
it wasn't good
Well,
because
because you can be. You can beat the crap out of somebody if that's your process.
But
and
to,
it
to
will
your
work.
point is, if one of your end, our North Stars was retention of our people, not
Right.
turnover.
Right.
So
And
I can
long-term
hit my
play.
numbers and spin people out and
Right.
just churn through them.
Right.
I can hit my numbers and churn through customers, but that's not aligned to my goal. Now, if my end North Star is I really don't care how I get there, I just want to
Right.
sell.
Right.
Well, then you'll do all that. That's
Right.
okay.
And it'll all
but
flip
but
on
then
you.
don't call the cat the dog.
That's
Don't
right.
say I'm going to love my customers and then your processes don't.
Right.
Right. Then they go,
Right.
if you know, like, listen, we're the lowest, we ain't pretty, we're going to hard negotiate, but you're going to get your deal, but we're going to make our money. And someone comes into that and goes, that's all right. I just want to get a good deal or whatever. And you're going, hey, it may not be pretty or it's going to take you 4 hours. But when you walk out of here, you're going to have the best deal either. Then people go, all right, I want to go into that.
Right.
But don't call the cat the dog.
Right.
So change.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, there's going to be growing pains.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. You're going to go down for
Yeah.
4 months till you come back up. But if
Yeah.
you're willing to say, I know that's going to happen, you go to the gym, you train somebody, right? You train somebody who never lifted weights. Guess what? You can put weights on and then they can't lift their arms. But you're also going to tell, listen, you're going to be sore.
Yeah, it's going to suck.
It's
Yeah.
going to
Right.
suck
It's
for the
gonna
first
suck.
month.
Right.
It's going to hurt. And then eventually it's not going to hurt so much. And 3 months from now, you're going to go, oh, I'm starting to feel better.
Right.
And then you get excited about it.
Right.
It's no different if
Yeah.
you're going to change behavior in the dealership. So if it's a priority, if you're willing to stop and really honestly go, I'm not going to repeat that behavior again. And you have another set of behaviors to move into. You can't just leave them and go, okay, you can't do that anymore. And they're going, well, what am I supposed to do? Just hit your numbers, but don't do that. You're like, what else? You have to work, like you said, you have to give them a process,
Right.
train them, coach them, and then we
Right.
all go down this road together. And there's going to be times where it's good. There's going to be times when it sucks. But if we're all aligned and we're working and we're willing to go, ooh, that wasn't good. Hey, that was good. And we coach ourselves. It's like a team in the rebuilding phase, right?
Right,
Your
right,
Cleveland Browns for
right.
years always rebuilt,
Right.
right? And now everybody's excited and there's optimism, right? But there's times where basketball, for some reason, we accept it with our basketball teams. Oh, they're in a rebuilding phase, all right? And we'll do that for a year or
it's
two.
weird.
Why wouldn't we say, listen, it's going to suck, but when we come out on the other side in a year,
Yeah.
we're going to dominate
Yeah.
because we're going to have a great message to push out.
Right.
We're going to have processes that deliver on that. We're going to be able to, our customers now we're thinking of, you're going to be a lifetime, real lifetime. We're going to retain our people because we're loving on, not just, it's okay to not love on them, meaning like a coach. You had coaches. I had coaches that got in your face and, come here a
yeah.
minute. But you knew they wanted the best from you. So if you dump in good, you can sometimes go,
Right.
if you only do this, that's not good. But if I dump in, like, that's good, keep going, we're here, we're doing well, and you pay them and your pay plan aligns to that,
Right.
what your North Star is, then you can make those changes. But that's time. That's willing to say, I'm going to take a step back to go forward and eat it, right? I keep using the one dealership group I work with. He wanted a big change. I said, don't talk to me for 4 months for about performance. I said, I don't want to hear it. He says, okay. I said, but I will tell you when we come out of this, not only will we do this, but they'll know how to do it without me. And sure as shit, it came out and it's still been doing this. And I haven't been
Nice.
back for a few months.
Yeah,
and
that's-
they're doubled their sales from
Yeah.
a year ago.
Yeah.
But they were willing to go, it's going to suck. And I'll own it.
Right.
I'll own it as long as we're incrementally moving forward. I'm all right. But that's, you said at the very beginning, it's a mindset from the top that we are going to rebuild and we are going to pivot so that a year from now we're completely different.
Let's talk about the top then, because let's accept that change is going to suck regardless.
Yep.
It just always does.
Yep.
That's just part of it. And our base seek pleasure and avoid pain mentality as human beings is part of the problem then coming from the manufacturers, because we just talked about that a lot of the times you can make a lot of money doing the wrong thing, and you know the manufacturers are making a lot of money with you doing the wrong thing. Is there no real accountability then, and no one to hold you accountable of, yeah, it falls under the 3 different ways to make change of, yeah, maybe we could do that, but maybe I'll get around to it. There's just no one to crack your head in most cases, and you'd have to crack your own head and say,
That's an interesting
I need to
question.
make this change. Is there no one else to hold that person accountable and say, you have to do this, or your dealership is going to be shut down in 12 months?
I think there's a little of all of it. I think there are some that the middle ground, when you're in the middle and you're doing all right, to your point, I had a dealer tell me that one time, said it's not worth it. Yeah, it'll add a little bit of money, but all the aggravation of having people come in my office and dealing with all screaming and yelling about why are we changing, not worth it.
Right.
So again, it comes down to what, ideally it comes down to the owner, So again, not everybody wants to be the palm.
Yeah, right.
Right?
That's true. My
Other
boat's big enough. Yeah.
Or they just say, listen, I'm good. I don't need 5 palms. I got 1 palm. And it's good and it's solid. And I don't need to
Right.
be the biggest one.
Right.
That goes back to the conversation. If I'm selling 150,
Right.
but if I'm fiscally, again, it's how you want to do it. If you're saying I only want to do 150 and I want to do it as efficiently as possible, well, then I find the right marketing vendors. I try to build my business on repeat and referral business, and I maintain them through service. So I don't have to triple spend on marketing just to get people in, so that we, through a really bad process, we sell in spite of ourselves. So I think the manufacturer is looking to say, I want to get market share, right? The manufacturer, this came from a dealer, not me. I don't speak on OEMs. I don't know them intimately enough.
Sure.
I'm just starting to work with some, and I'm going, okay, it's corporate. But he said, listen, and I've taken this because it makes sense. He goes, Tier 1's job only is to basically tell the world why X brand is better than X brand, right? Their job is to say why Ford is better than Chevy, period, end of story, or Chevy's better than Ford.
Correct.
Tier 2 is, hey, we got some great regional dealers support. If you're going to buy a Ford, buy it from one of Tri-State. Don't go to over here, go to Tri-State. The dealer's job is to say, here's why you should buy from me. Not pitch why Ford's better than Chevy.
Right.
It's
been done.
why you should buy from me. Now,
I got you.
it all depends on how you want to do that. And again, to your point, it's compensation. If I hit numbers, there's a lot of ways that I can manipulate
Motivate.
my numbers.
Yeah.
All depends on what you want to do for your customers, And again, it depends on, I've seen some dealers, it's because of their location. They sit there and they go, I got to go see these people in church. I got to go sit them in a restaurant. I'm playing, my kids are playing on the
Correct.
same Little League team, so I can't be that person.
Correct.
Where maybe in a city, someone might say, it's way too competitive.
Right.
Right? Because that's what I hear is, yeah, Glenn, that sounds great, but what am I supposed to do when the guy down the street doesn't care and he's listing
Killing
things
me, right?
$3,000 under invoice and I'm getting smashed because he doesn't care because the manufacturer's not holding them accountable.
Right.
I can be goody two-shoes, but I'm losing business.
Right. Tough question.
Well, I think it's both. I think you have to aggressively go after what you have to do depending on your competition in the marketplace. But I think sometimes dealers spend so much time focusing on the variable side, meaning cars, focusing on that, they're missing out focusing that same passion on, well, can I retain them, right? I'm so worried about conquesting your dealership and stealing. I got 30 of his customers. I lost 50 out the back end in service because I'm not paying attention to them. So I think you do both. You might have to be competitive, and margins are super thin on the front end with vehicles.
Yeah.
But if you say, listen, I can dominate in the used car market from here, and more importantly, I retain my customers in service. I don't retain customers in sales because they're not coming back. I hand it over to service, and really the dealerships that really retain their customers, it's through the service drive.
Yep.
It's proactively reaching out. It's helping them. It's what we talked about before. It's assuming they're going to be with me forever, so I don't have to just inflate the RO this one time. It's I'll get it next time. And now you can have ways to talk to them about it and say, I have it up on a lift. You might want to do it now. If not, definitely next time because I don't want to. But if you're the trusted resource in your neighborhood and your customers go, I trust Craig, so Craig, do it now, or I'll do it next time, and you're not a problem. Let's schedule it before you leave.
Yes.
Well, let's get it scheduled, right? So there's a process to do that. So you might have to go fight over there. But if I can retain my customers through customer service, especially in the service drive, you're not going to get a crack at them because I'm going to get them before the next time. I may lose this time, but if I win that customer,
Right.
I'm going to win some other ones over because people are going to hear
Right.
testimonials.
Right.
Maybe I'll get you in the service drive, and then they go, "Ooh, this is different over here." So there's definitely strategies to do that. It just comes back to what we had said earlier. What's your North Star?
Right. So we have the North Star, big vision.
Yep.
We have a culture. We have processes.
Yep.
We have a very specific way we want to see our store run, operate.
Yep.
How we want to be thought about in our community. Now we have to hire people that align with all those things, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the whole process has to be slowed down because with what we do, it's mostly reactionary. There's nobody, there's very few of our clients are planning ahead. I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
They're reacting to markets and
Yeah.
situations.
In regard to recruiting, but I think
Right.
a lot of it is a bigger issue than that. It's what we talked about. It's not retaining.
But even
Right.
if you said, let's say that our vision here 100%. Right. Oh, awesome.
Right. Right.
Even
Perfect.
if somebody is at 75%.
Right.
The conversation should be very much we do it for our clients. What's our churn?
Right.
What's our churn of clients? We could do it as great as we can, but then all of a sudden a new general manager comes in and says, I'm firing that agency because I don't know them, and we're going, but we're killing it. Or, oh, the manufacturer wants to do a co-op program, whatever. If you know what your churn is of your customers, right? You know what your retention rate of your customer is. You should know what your retention rate of your employees is.
Right.
Right.
Most dealers may or may not.
Yeah.
So you might turn around and say, well, if there's a churn, one, if I'm doing better with these processes, is that dropping, right? I'm not losing people.
Right.
Number two, you also sit there and say, well, I should always be looking. That's the key. I'm always hiring. If you're a sports team,
We
right?
call it ABS, always be staffing.
Right. So if you think about a sports team, every team has a full roster.
They're always
and
looking at-
every year they get draft. And guess what? If you're a 53-man roster and you're number 52, you're nervous, right? If I'm number 30, not so nervous. I may not get a playing time. I may not make enough money. I'm constantly trying to work my way up. So if you say to yourself, it goes back to staffing to say, how many people do I need to handle the volume of business I have, right? And we see it a lot of times with BDCs or internet sales department. They're understaffed. Why? Because they
Almost
go, well,
always.
Almost always. Salespeople, do we have enough? Are we scheduled at the right time? I mean, there's a whole other variables of when you should staff your dealership and when the busiest times are. Right. But they should always be looking because there's always someone who potentially wants to, but is not capable. So you might have to move them into a different seat, like you say, on the bus.
Right.
You have other people who, if you always wait till someone leaves, right? And now, if we have our processes correct, we already know you're going down the wrong road.
Yeah.
Right. We're already on the discipline track with you because
Yeah.
we've trained you. It's your decision. You're just not doing it. So now I know I'm going to have to replace somebody because he may or may not get his head rearranged and we're going to go. But if I'm constantly looking for good people, I'm constantly scouting for good people and go, I think that person would be great. One, because it gives you the ability to properly train them. Because if you can't throw somebody on a sales floor in a BDC in a service drive and think they're going to work today, even if they have experience, it goes back to, but this is our way.
Right. Yeah, right.
Let me train you how to do it here. Just because you did it down the street doesn't mean that's the way we do it here. Correct. You understand it. Great. I hope our training goes faster. But you're not coming in and just go, here's a seat, go.
Right.
So
yeah, the head chef at the Palms could come into run a McDonald's and totally screw it all up.
Well, they'll just say, great, you know how to cook, but let me show you how to do it, right? It could be the Palm goes to Ruth Chris, so you don't go to that extreme. He knows how to run a kitchen, but he has to learn their recipes, how they present, how they do it, their timing, all the rest. Right. So I think that I tell our team, we're always looking. Yeah. We're always looking.
Yeah. Because
if you don't, we've had people that, and it's my fault, I've held on to people too long. We think we talked about it last time. Yeah. That's my fault because one of my weaknesses as a leader is I think I can fix everybody.
Yep.
Eventually I'll get to you and I'll do it.
Yeah.
But what happens is then they always go, well, you know, and I'm going, but what happens if they came in tomorrow and quit? Right? We're screwed. So why wouldn't you proactively at least have a list of people?
Correct.
No one says that you. So I think the difference is when you're doing, people are always saying, well, we're always hiring. No, you're always interviewing.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Different.
Right.
Always
Very
interview.
different.
Have a stack of people. So if you walk out tomorrow, I got 4 people, 5 people I can call up. Hey, I got a position. Are you still interested? Right. Or someone's going down the bad thing. I'm going to bring those people in for a second interview to see if we get it. So then I don't have to wait for you.
Right.
Right. To be in a position where you're at a fault. But also, are your teams, Jason and I talked about this yesterday, Jason Harris, sometimes when somebody leaves and everybody steps up, you actually go, wow, we didn't actually need that person. Like we were running heavy.
Sure.
Right.
So, and I think that comes back, going back to your original question, is it's not necessarily a bad thing to be reactionary. It's why are you being reactionary? I think that can be the problem. So are you reacting because you had somebody internally that you moved up to another position? I mean, that should be the goal, really. If we've established that it doesn't matter how good someone is that you bring from outside, if they can't do it your way and align with your vision and are following your North Star, they're probably not going to succeed.
Correct.
Because that's what matters. So if you groom them from the bottom up, we've been preaching it to dealerships in regard to technicians forever, where they're like, I need a Chrysler Level 3 guy. It's like, you know, we can find someone and bring them over.
Right.
They might not fit. You might not like them. They might want $35 an hour.
Right. You're going to have to overpay.
You're still missing at the bottom where you need to bring someone in and groom them and train them and push them along. Well, it should be the same thing on the sales side. You should be hiring that person because of the type of person they are, training them, and that you should aspire to have them become managers.
Well,
and
you should,
old days,
you should
it used
have,
to be that way.
You
but-
should have a succession plan.
Right.
You know, you should always be saying you come in
Absolutely.
here. I always tell our own team, promote first and then hire from the outside if we can. If we don't have somebody
what
to
I'm
be
saying.
able to do it,
Right.
promote first because they already know the culture.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's
And that helps, right? And to your point
Yeah,
is
that's the way we
you
do
should
things.
have a plan to say, well, if I need tier 3,
right.
what does that entail to get that? And do you have people who, if I invested in them, they'll get there?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that if you're constantly reactionary, could be someone who was a great employee just leaves for no reason. You didn't see that coming.
Sure,
that happens.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's blindside. But if you're telling me that the person we finally got around 4 months after firing the person who we should have fired 4 months ago,
Right.
and I don't have anybody, well, shame on you. You knew this was coming. Like, please, you know, that's a bad reactionary. Reaction is, holy God, somebody just quit. Somebody had to move. You know, we had an account manager who recently came in, really great account manager for us, came in and said her and her new fiance, an opportunity came up and they moved to Hawaii.
Right.
Like, and we had another
bless
one
you.
time.
Right.
He got engaged and his girlfriend's job moved her to California. Guess what? He's moving to California. And you're going, well, that came out of nowhere. And you go, okay, scramble.
Right.
Versus,
You have to react to
versus someone's not doing well. But I still think even when that person said, I'm moving to California and I'm leaving in 3 weeks, we had a list of people that said that had interviewed over the last 2 months who, all right,
Awesome.
get on the phone, call them up, see if they're still interested. And we had 1 or 2 people come in, right? So that's what I'm always saying. There should be a file in your drawer of people that you've interviewed constantly over the last 2 months.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, pull that file out and just see if they're still interested. Hey, I might have something in a month. I'm looking to, increase my staff next month. Are you still looking? And they're like, yeah, I always like to work there, especially if you have a great reputation, right? It's your North Star. People want to work. You should have people wanting to come and work for you. If that's the case, well, I've heard that. I heard that's a great place to work. I want to come there. And you have that file. Then you constantly can have you can hold people accountable to it. Right? When people want that job and you say, dude, if you're not going to do this, I got 50 people who want your position. All of a sudden people are going, well, I better do this versus, You're lucky to have me.
Right.
When people see people coming in for interviews, all of a sudden, why are they interviewing?
Right.
Right. Well, and you talked about reputation. It's not just reputation outside of the building; it's reputation inside of the building.
Sure.
If you
yeah,
got your
good point,
team
John.
buying in, they'll find employees for you.
Oh,
Hey,
absolutely.
I got a friend.
That's the way we do it.
They want to do this too.
We have
we haven't
our
run an ad
last
in forever.
our last few hires have been that way.
Right.
Hey, I have a friend used to be hey, my roommate's looking, or hey, I'm looking here, or I
Way
know
to do
somebody
it, man.
looking. That's the way it should be. So in a dealership, I'll guarantee you, if you just ask, but that's the problem. A lot of dealers don't ask.
do you mean?
sit there.
Don't
Don't ask their sales team. Sitting
Oh,
there
yeah.
saying,
Oh, I'm
"Hey,
sure.
well, we want to increase the sales team. Does anybody have anybody that you think?"
Oh yeah.
Now,
no, they're scared to shit to do that. Actually.
well, because they don't have a process to train people. So some people go, "I'm not doing this to my friend." Versus,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
like Enterprise Rent-A-Car, they work more hours than
Yeah.
car dealers.
yeah.
do,
They got
salespeople
it
do.
down. They're pretty interesting. The more you look into them.
You look at them; those people will go in there because one, they have. Well, you had said earlier, there's a path. Everybody
career
sees
path,
the
for
path. They
sure.
know what's going on. They know what their compensation level is. They know when I move to that title and I do this training on
Yeah.
my, it's
Yeah.
self-motivated. If I do this training, I go to here. I get my accreditation.
Right.
I get this.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to move. But I asked one person one time, I went in and I saw the same people. They're in my local one. And I started talking to them. They're working 60, 70 hours.
Oh yeah.
And they're happy. They don't care.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're there
Yeah.
all the time.
Right. Well, they know what they have an end in mind. They know what it is.
But
See
that's
it
my
clearly.
point is why can't we do that in a dealership?
Yeah, we have to.
Versus saying this is a great place to work. There's upside. Because every dealership has people that have been there for 5, 6, 7, 8
Right.
years. There's a reason why they're there.
Right.
Now, some of it is they're just naturally good at it versus them saying, hey, I built a system where I should be able to take that salesperson, that waiter at the Palm and say, hey, dude, how much do you make here? Well, I make this. You could make more. Now, part of it is hours, time. But listen, the Palm people are there. They come in at 4 o'clock. They ain't getting out of there till 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, you're right.
So, and some people do double shifts and they do lunches and they do dinners.
Right.
It's this, again, more. I'm seeing more and more dealers get away from this. You got to work forever,
Right.
going to 45 hours, 50 hours.
It is changing.
Yeah, because you can't hire people. Nobody's going to work. If I'm not getting paid hourly, I could be here all week and not make money, and now I'm here.
But you're right. If you align the pay plan and the career goals and the vision,
Why
a lot of
can't you?
people aren't going to care. I mean, you got to find the right people, but
Yeah, that's true.
that 50, 60, whatever hours a week doesn't look as daunting if you have an end in mind.
No,
Right,
but I'll tell you
exactly.
right now, Best Buy, go talk to them. They probably work 50 hours. I have
Yeah, I
people
would
who
think.
used to work on, in customer service. They would work 50 hours, wouldn't even think twice.
Right.
Because they're like, there was another level.
Right.
There was money. There was structure. It was also, think about it, is if, going back to our North Star RV, if you had a dealership, it's not like, and again, I don't want anybody sitting here going like, oh, automotive dealers. They exist. They're the good ones. They're the ones out there who are retaining people, and they have a great reputation. Why? Because they built around to say, this is a great job.
Yeah.
I have people in the
Yeah.
community, and people work at this. There's a career path. People are here. Look at a Kevin Fry. He's been at Weiler for 13, 14 years as an e-commerce director. There's a reason why. They take care of him. They believe in him. They invest in his training. They do things for their employees. They all go, this is the way I want to work. The owners are involved. So there are examples out there of that where you can sit there and say, I can attract great people because it's like anything. If I'm going to go work at the Palm, I know I have to step up my game if I'm a waiter. They're going to train me. There are going to be benefits to it. It's a nice place to work. I like the hours. I like the people I work with. Same thing. That's why I said it's that experience. But if I'm going to go into a position, I don't care if it's a restaurant, and every day it's chaotic, or when you're the manager on the floor, it's your way. And when you're the manager the next day, it's your way. And then I'm going,
Yeah.
That's
Nobody-
a huge problem.
I don't care
Yeah.
if how much money they're paying. Eventually you're going to go, it's not worth it.
not
Correct.
worth it.
That's right. Speaking of having people in a file and so forth, we actually happen to have a friend of the program called
Yeah, it keeps popping up in my head.
Uh,
a lot of what you're saying.
Automotive HR. There's software available now that, the term DIY is used a lot, but dealers that aren't doing what we're talking about right now are really, it's a short-sighted vision of a long-term problem. or opportunity, we've got to bring staffing into this millennial. It's with a company like Automotive HR, we're talking about career branded websites. They add it right to your site. You know, it's in my opinion, if you've got a what do they call them? Career tab on your website, and it's not linked to any outside source like Hireology or, in our case, Automotive HR, take it down, get rid of it. And no one's coming to your website to look for a job. So it's totally wasted real estate on your website. With Automotive HR, it literally does everything for you. I mean, this is the biggest no-brainer. And it gives you the ability to build what we would call your own talent network. You know, where you always have, in the event of having to be reactionary or growth, you have those people sitting right there.
Right.
I mean, it's like it does everything for you.
Well, I think the reactionary thing, I think that's just your mindset, I think sometimes, or that's from, as you said, the top down.
Yeah.
When you're constantly putting out fires, if you don't have a process in place, you're running around checking on everybody to make sure everybody's doing anything, or the reverse, they're all coming to you. You're trying to sit down and go, I got to focus on staffing, and someone's like, hey, dude, I need the answer. Come here, you got to help me with this deal, or what should I do here, what's here? And you're like, okay, do this, and they go away, and you go, okay, let me go do staffing.
Yeah.
Hey, and so if you're constantly being pulled, when can you shut your door, so to speak, and focus and go, I really, even if they wanted to focus and say staffing, I got to get more organized. I went and I saw Craig and Joe speak, and it was yes. And they come back, but the environment they're in is so chaotic.
I know it really is. And I really, truly, firmly believe that they really want to, dealers for the most part, really want to prioritize staffing and recruiting and retention. I think they really, truly, in their hearts, want to. Don't know how to, or more likely, it's all the other fires.
Well,
it's
I think
constant chaos.
But again, and it's hard to change people because they're successful. They're making money.
Right.
Most dealers are making money, and that's just, if you talk to them, they go, well, that's the way I do it, man. I'm good. I'm multitasking.
I guess.
Or they'll delegate it, but they don't follow up on it, and then someone else is going, well, maybe I will, or whatever.
Probably.
But again, a lot of people sometimes, because it's happened for us when we have it. So I always go back to me because I've made all these mistakes myself, is that you think it's a good idea, you stop paying attention to it, and then all of a sudden it goes, and you go, where's that file? Right. Oh, well, we haven't done it. Why haven't we done it? Well, we were doing this over here, and you didn't ask for it, so I didn't think if it was that important. Then it all goes back to me going, damn, it was me. Wasn't you. I didn't check on it. Hey, even if it's just every week to go, hey, have we been calling people? Have we been I haven't noticed people walking in for interviews. What's going on? That's my fault. So I think that a lot of times it's just, we are successful, we are busy, there's always something, right? There's always something going on, and that's why we said earlier on, the more that you can find at least a little bit of quiet time when it's not. Now, it is scheduling yourself to say, listen, you know when that quiet time is? At 9:30 in the morning after our morning meeting. So from 9:30 to 10:30, I'm locking myself in the room before, because I know come 11 o'clock when it starts getting busy, they're going to knock on my door. So then I have to sort of guard that time and say, if you're going to knock on my door, somebody better be dying, right? Leave me alone for an hour. And then you can do that. But that, again, goes to you of knowing yourself to say, I gotta.
Right. So, and going back to Automotive HR, you've been leading up to it this entire time here, and you're the first person that's come on here that's really truly understood recruiting, I feel, or at least recruiting within our industry, to where you always have to be doing it. It always has to be ongoing. And this is the perfect tool to do it. And it kind of, when we first started our relationship with Steven, and it still comes up where people are like, well, that's kind of an odd relationship. Isn't he a competitor of yours? Isn't he providing recruiting service also? And I remember from the last podcast, you mentioned your relationship with Troy and how years back you recommended Troy because he was doing something that you couldn't do. And so you wanted to make sure your client had the best service possible. So that's where our relationship with Steven came to is, I wouldn't feel comfortable recommending any other recruiting service within the entire industry other than ourselves or Automotive HR. I absolutely, if a client came to me and said, hey, I need this, this, and this. It comes back, it ties into the rule of thirds also, is we saw that there was a market for, like you said, DIY. There are dealerships that can do a lot of this stuff and strive to do the stuff and do a nice job with it. And we knew we were missing out on those people, so we formed this relationship with Steven, and now I feel comfortable of saying, well, we can do this. Nah, I don't need all that. I don't need to spend all that money. I don't need you guys out here on site.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, here's a tool that will provide you all the same stuff that we use internally. This is literally what we use to help our clients recruit.
Right, literally.
Just do it yourself.
Right.
And sometimes they do, and again, like
Right.
the rule of thirds, sometimes they don't.
Right.
That's all right. But
Yeah,
the
that
key
is all right.
is that
Yeah.
you offered them a solution.
Right, exactly.
Right. That's the key.
Correct.
You always want to offer them a solution. You don't want to turn around and go, well, then screw you. You don't
Yeah,
have to hire
exactly.
me,
Right.
screw you.
Right.
Versus going, okay, I'm not the right fit. I mean,
yeah,
as
that's
trainers, we all know that, or you should. The best trainers know I can't, even though I want to think I can, there's times where I can't get through to anybody. We don't connect.
That's right,
but if
man.
I put you over there, then you fix it, the greater good.
Exactly right.
Same thing. There's areas that I don't work, or there's people that do things better than me. So
Right.
if you don't want ours,
Right.
then at least go to my friend before you go over there.
Right.
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 Go talk to them before you go talk to them. That's
Right.
that's the way I try to figure that it all works out.
So in building our nicer, friendlier, faster, easier car dealership to do business with, am I naive into thinking that we could really affect change in our community? Because, I mean, could we really get involved in charities? Could we really get involved in real community events? Could we get involved in help schools? Could we help homeless? Could we help everywhere? Because we have a certain amount of money. And can that be our mantra? Can that be our, and not cost-based marketing. We're going to back this baseball team because it's going to make us X amount of dollars. No, we're going to back this baseball team because if we don't, there's not going to be a league anymore in our town.
Well, I already think that's happening. I think dealers are the most generous people, some of the most generous people in their
Agreed.
towns. They do it. A lot of them do it without fanfare because
Right.
as
Anonymously.
agencies, we're saying, dude, you should be marketing that. And they're going, nope,
Yeah.
I do not want anybody knowing I do that. Or people in town know I don't want it publicized.
Right.
And then there's other people who say, I'll put it on my website and that's enough. It is that local. I don't need to brag about it because some dealers were saying that's bragging. Other people look at it as I want awareness, right?
Don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing.
Right. So we have, I think I talked about it last time, one of our dealers, he is that person in his town. He buys backpacks for the school, buys 100 of them for the school to just say, have these, give them out to the kids who can't afford it. He's not, hey, come get your backpack. He's just, here's 100.
Gotcha.
They're stocked with stuff, give them to the school and say, you give them to the kids as you see fit.
Yeah.
He backs the local, he does the sponsorship for the single A baseball team. So he does all the branding there and there. So that's his. He goes, hey, people, it's well attended. And so he markets. Great. He does pet adoption once every 2 months, sometimes during the summer, once every month on a Sunday because dealerships are closed in New Jersey on Sunday. And he has pet adoption. He goes, I get 200-300 people, sometimes more. And he goes, we had 50 or 100 dogs that were pets adopted. Now, he's smart. There's no salespeople there, but the bathrooms are open inside. So people walk in, they're looking at cars. Right. Has he sold cars?
Right,
Absolutely. He says people come
Right.
because of that.
Right.
But he's doing it because he loves pets and he does it. So he's doing all of these things as someone who says, well, I want to do it's no different than restaurants. I keep going back. Everybody still likes it. And automotive has to break this habit of thinking they're so different than every other local business. They're not. They're no different than the Elk Lodge doing something, or
we just
the
deal with
restaurant
something a little
doing
sexier. It's probably where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah, I just think they look at it and they say, well, we're different because people always thought it was different, and
Right.
it's a longer term purchase. So,
Right.
why do I have to do this? They're not coming back for 3 years. I'm going, yeah, but they're coming for service,
Yeah.
or they're recommending people,
Right.
and you're in town,
Yeah.
and you might, especially if you're in a town that is smaller or even mid-size, where, as we said earlier, I'm going to see you at the restaurant. I'm going to see you at church. My kids are going to be on the same baseball team as your kids. I don't want to be like, oh, there's that guy
Yeah.
or that girl.
Right.
Why would you want to be that person?
Correct.
Right. So I think there's a lot of dealers who are doing it,
Right.
probably more than we all think, because
Yeah.
there's a majority of them who just don't want you to know
Yeah,
that they're doing
I
all
wouldn't
this.
doubt that.
And we've talked about it on the show before, and you've mentioned that you feel that's one of the main reasons that regardless of what happens with Carvana or the online purchasing model, brick and mortars will always have a place. And let's be real, a lot of it's also what you've mentioned, the tax revenue that's generated for the local municipality. But aside from that, they're true parts, genuinely parts of the community.
Right.
To where if you take that out, it's a big hole within the community.
No question.
From an outreach standpoint, and just, we talked about our hometown, Canton, Ohio, and we're going through some of the generational car dealers, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys have been there for, 50, 60 years, and the sons are doing excellent jobs. The Wakems in Maslin, Clayton Sanders at Progressive. And I'm like, a lot of times you'll see second, third generation dealers blow it, and these kids are killing it.
Progressive, it's 4 generations.
Right, and it's
4.
because they're parts of the community, and everyone knows them. And
Correct.
like you said, I went to school with the sons, and I
Right.
grew up with them, and,
Right.
and you know them around, and
Right.
they're good
Right.
people,
Right.
and they do things for the community. It makes
Well,
a
I
difference.
think it also is the good ones who pass it down from generation adapt and adjust to the marketplace now.
Right.
Meaning, because we filmed some people doing some of the DR tools, online tools, and we did some focus groups and talked about branding messages. And one of the branding messages was we talked to these young kids, early 20s. Like, if a dealership said they've been in business 100 years, would that matter to you? Does that mean anything? They're like, no. And one person said, I think that means that they pass down bad habits from the generation to generation.
It's actually worse.
Out of the
Right.
mouths of
So
babes.
it's so to the point is, if you're only doing it the same way, there is a tradition, again, it's mom's recipe, it's this. But if you haven't updated there comes a point where either it becomes so nostalgic and we're going to hold everything to look the same way, and that's why I'm going. But the food still has to adapt because taste change and things and menu items change. And as long as
Yeah.
that's evolving,
Yeah.
the key is the quality's good. The North Star was always, we take care of you and appreciate you. So if the kids are doing that, the next generations are doing that in the dealerships. But they're evolving to say, there is new technology. We are going to remove obstacles. We are going to make it easier, but my parents started this to be a pillar in the community, to be able to say, we can show our face at church and not be,
Right.
ooh. We still have to do that. We just do it a little differently because technology is different. You didn't have websites before. Now you got websites, and the first websites are different than these websites. And we didn't have chat before. Now we have chat, and now we can do it off of this. So as long as they're evolving, but their North Star is still, we want to be pillars of the community.
Right.
We want to be respected in the community. We want to be the people who come back to us, and I want to sell cars to your kids, right? That's the mentality. I don't want to just be a 4th generation owner. I want to be selling to 4th generation families, right? You sold to my grandfather, and you sold to my father, and now I'm here because of that.
Right.
That's the home run,
Right.
right? That's the home run.
Right. And that's a vision that we have to hold on to keep us going in the right direction. In everything that we do, process, people, promotion,
Sure.
the whole thing.
Things are going to constantly change and adapt because of, as I said, technology. Advertising changes because now we have new tools and new places where people are watching. That doesn't mean that just because Jason, on Tacoby, his people are answering or talking to somebody on their phone, means that it's any different than if they were standing on the lot talking to them, right? That's the way, but that's what I, as an owner, have to communicate to Jason to say, this is the way, this is what I want you to say, this is what I don't want you to say, this is the way I have to handle it.
Right.
Now, Jason, in a vacuum, very much like we have to from marketing, if you're not going to participate with me, I got to guess, or I'm going to do what I think
Right.
is best.
Right.
And most of the time it works.
Right.
But there are times, and I'm going, but you didn't tell me that.
Right, and this is something I've been wanting to say, and we keep squirreling and going, so I forget about it. But you've talked about, I just lost my train of thought. Squirreling. I'm squirreling inside my own head. Go ahead. I'll find it.
I'm going to send him a squirrel. I'm getting you a stuffed squirrel here. Now. That's my neck. That's
Yeah,
my
Lopes, I saw you jump down. I don't know.
Listen, okay. So with recruiting, it's the same thing where, we talked about training should be done internally. I do think recruiting is something that can be done externally just because it is very time consuming. There is a lot that goes into it.
Right.
But our first phone call with any client always has to be, what is your ideal candidate? You have to paint a picture for me of what your perfect person looks like.
Right.
Otherwise, we can't do this for you. So if you are going to outsource stuff like that, like you said, there has to be communication or you are just guessing. You have no
that
idea.
goes back to your North Star.
Yeah.
If I know what I want to deliver, then I can go, here are the qualities.
And share it with someone, right?
Here's the qualities. Here's what the qualities. So whether it's internally, right? If you're the person internally who's hiring, I have to tell you, here's the qualities of the people, or else you're going, well, I think this is good. And you're like, how the hell did you hire that person?
Right.
Well, I didn't know. I just thought they were nice.
Right, sure.
Right.
Or they align with our qualities. It's like, well, they don't align with my qualities. You didn't tell me that.
Exactly. And that comes from you guys building out your processes to say, I can't do anything till you fill out this checklist, or here's the questions I have to ask you and you have to answer, or else I can't move forward. Right. So I think we've all
just get me a guy doesn't.
Just get me somebody.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
No.
That's not a good retention. And so even for us, all of your sponsors, Frank's on there, Jason's on there. We all know what clients work for us and what clients don't work for us. And sometimes we've had to take clients for whatever per time, and you're going, oh, I know this is not going to work. And sure as hell, within 3-4 months, you're going, this ain't working. But you needed the revenue at that point or whatever you had to do.
Right.
Versus, no, this is our ideal client. This is the type of person who works for us, right? There are some companies that would rather I talk to you once a month, or I'd rather, I like companies that, or I like clients that don't want to even deal with it. They trust me, right? So they're really disconnected, and I can do everything, and I just report to them, and they're going, God bless. Versus someone who's asking me questions every day.
Right.
On the flip side, you're like, no, that's better for me if I do this, versus a disconnected one I'm not good at. But so that same thing as a business owner, who your customers are very much. When you're marketing, who your customers are for your brand, and who for different campaigns for different customers.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Can we take a break and have some fun for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we haven't done it in a long time.
Let's do that, dude.
It's the return of
the questions that make me look bad?
fabulous fibs.
Fabulous fibs. Fabulous fibs.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Did I make questions for you last time?
I don't know. Yeah, you did.
You played
You
last
did.
time? Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
You weren't here. Just wanted to point that out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did we get? We got 2 hours, 15 minutes in without mentioning that I missed the last one.
Yeah.
That wasn't too bad.
No, not too bad.
But I left you the bottle of wine.
And you brought
It's
food.
gonna
And
go
you brought
for a-
desserts this time.
I did.
You want to plug your bakery?
Yes,
Yeah, plug the bakery.
the gingered peach in
Gingered
the
peach.
gingered peach in Lawrenceville, New Jersey.
That sounds
awesome.
That sounds
awesome.
delicious, yeah.
The cupcakes. I brought
I got it.
cupcakes for your daughters, and
Yeah.
they're going to be very happy. And so we've been eating coffee cake and the chocolate
Yeah.
croissant, which is no longer on that
It's
side
gone.
over there. It's gone. So yes, the gingered peach. Follow them on Instagram. They're the gingered peach. Great. If you're ever in the area, please stop by and support them. They're great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very good. We appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. You ready to dive in?
Sure.
All right, these are really, really random, I'm going to be honest. So it's gotten to the point where, I tried to structure these in the beginning off questions would be about us, AutoMax people, or automotive specific or marketing specific. But there's only so many facts out there, so I've taken to Googling random facts and going from there. So
Okay.
Preface.
Here
All
we
right.
go.
But before you start,
Yeah.
Otto Graham's statue's going up at First Energy Field in Cleveland this week, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Otto Graham. Yeah, I don't know. There's always debates, the greatest of all time, but Otto Graham was,
The most winningest,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
from the 40s through
Right.
up to the
Right.
Steelers dynasties, he's the most winningest
Right.
winningest quarterback
Right.
in the
from,
NFL.
From 1946 to 1955, 55 or 56. The Browns won.
He was
like, literally
He's
every
7-3
year.
in championship games. Yeah.
He actually retired from football for a year and won an NBA title with
know
the
that.
Rochester Whomevers in the early 50s, which I thought I knew everything about this
Should
guy.
have saved it. These are things you need to text to me so I
Right.
can
Yeah.
use.
Hey,
That would have been
did
a
he?
good one.
The first two-way player. There you go.
Keep them in.
Damn.
Text me next time
Damn.
something like that comes up. It's hard to come up with.
Well,
new
you know,
material.
that's how the face mask, that's how they invented the face mask. He got his jaw broken during a game, and they went in and at halftime and created a face mask.
You just blew another one.
Yeah, that was a good
I could have
one,
used
too.
that one too.
I'm
All right,
saying
I'm
any
dying out.
Ideas,
All right,
process.
All right. So number one, again, premise here for anyone who's never seen this. I'm going to read off 3 statements. You have to tell me which one of the 3 is true. The other 2 bold-faced lies.
Okay.
All right. Number 1.
Okay.
The expiration date on bottled water is for the bottle. Number 2. The most expensive car ever sold at auction is a 1956 Aston Martin DBR1 for $22.5 mil.
Wow.
Number 3. Every letter in the alphabet appears on the periodic table of elements. So let me go back through. Number 1. Expiration date on bottled water is for the bottle. Number 2, the most expensive car ever sold at auction is a 56 Aston Martin for 22.5 mil. Number 3, every letter in the alphabet appears on the periodic table of elements. Which one is true?
Boy, these are random and awesome.
Yes.
I'm glad I'm not you, Glenn, because no matter what you say, you're going to end up looking stupid.
I don't know. I think he's
Listen,
got it.
I've
think
done
so?
that many times. I think it's the periodic table.
I was going to go
Is
with that.
is
Yeah.
it
I was
either
going
that-
the
I
same
don't
way.
know. Did you? Because I kept going. The water bottle seems odd, but that
Seems
could be
odd.
stupid.
It is the water bottle.
Is it water
Yeah.
bottle? That was
Yeah.
my first one, and
So
I'm
it's
going.
with a
How does
bottle.
plastic go? How does plastic go?
Well, how does
bad?
water go? So I use that one because I've always wondered. You see it on store-bought
Right.
water. It has a date. I'm like, well, what the
Right.
hell am I
What?
drinking here?
Right, right.
It's freshness.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me go through these, though. Number 2, 63 Ferrari GTO, 48 million.
Are
The,
you
like
kidding me?
17 of the top 20 are Ferraris.
Wow.
Yeah.
$48 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's actually a private sale GTO that went for 70 million. This was just auction.
No kidding.
Yeah. Crazy.
Wow.
Right. And there's no letter J on the periodic table of elements.
Really?
Now there's 4 temporarily named elements that have Q in them. But once they permanently name those elements, Q won't be on there either. I found that
Well,
fascinating.
wait a minute. I thought
That
I
is
was saying that
fascinating.
was true. That there was. Oh, that they're all are on it.
Yeah,
Or
J
that-
is not on there for
That's
whatever
what
reason.
I reversed. I thought it. I was saying that there isn't. They're not
Oh.
always on
Oh.
it. I thought it was that they're not all on it. That's my. Well, anyway.
My apologies.
Okay.
You get another chance though.
That's right.
No one
You get
goes away
another chance
empty-handed.
to look stupid.
Second
And this one I think
chances,
you're going to
man.
get. So I do try to steer the bonus question into something in your world, whoever's on the show. So, you get
Pop,
something.
pop,
Get
pop
something.
figures. I'm good with that right
So-
now.
These are softballs.
So who is the number 3 U.S. Digital advertising source measured by percentage of worldwide ad spend? Number 3. Think.
All right, repeat the question.
Who is currently the number 3 U.S. digital advertising source measured as percentage?
Amazon.
Correct. Who's number 1 and 2?
It would be. It had to be Google and then probably Facebook.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Ding, 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 ding.
Nice.
Because at first I was going YouTube, and I'm going, wait a minute, no, they're part of Google.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
It's tricky, yeah.
that's probably true. Did you see Google
So-
and YouTube got sued for $150 million? Not sued for, they lost. They have to pay up for, oh, crap. I'm on YouTube. We're on YouTube, aren't we?
Don't badmouth them.
They, yeah, well, I don't want to screw this up. They violated the Children Information Act, where data on kids, I think it was 13 or under, they collected data on children 13
Oh, no
and
kid.
under and resold it. Yeah, so 156 million or something they had to pony up with.
Oh yeah, well that's a lot of money for them.
State of New York.
Yeah, I'm sure they're feeling that.
30 million to the Attorney General's office and 126
Yeah, that's
million
a
to
slap on the
somebody
wrist.
else.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But
I got it.
yeah, right.
Yeah, no problem.
But Amazon's actually, so
That's
I got in
interesting.
another interesting article with this. What's nice about putting these together is you learn all kinds of stuff. It's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
but Google has recognized Amazon is 3, but they've grown exponentially.
Oh, sure.
As far as an advertising source, and what Google's starting to realize is because of the power that Amazon has, and we talk about it with selling cars. It's press a button and I'll smash everybody sort of mentality. Google's starting to see that they're going to have to find other ad revenue other
Sure.
than just being an advertising source. That's not going to get them to the finish line. I mean, they're
Correct.
going to have to keep adapting and changing. So even Google has to make changes.
I got
I found that interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the way that when you Google, even if you're typing something in, you'll still see Amazon ads, and it's going to redirect to Amazon. And then once people are in Amazon, that's their search engine. They're searching within Amazon.
sure.
So people aren't even using
point.
Google because they're getting taken away from Google.
Think about it how now when you shop for products, you just type in Amazon and go search.
Yeah.
So they're becoming a huge search engine.
They're
for
becoming a
products.
search engine, right?
They are. They're not becoming. They are.
Yeah.
Very much. I think the second biggest search engine is YouTube. So they go on there and people just search for videos. I need this. So Google is I need this. Now that they're pivoting to products. So again, you go to Google for search to find things, videos, YouTube. I want to see how it's done. Amazon is products. I don't search now.
Yeah.
I may search comparison of this
Right.
on search, but once I'm on there and you go down the rabbit holes, and so it makes complete sense
Yep.
because you have so
Yeah.
many eyeballs now on Amazon. They don't even you don't even go to Best Buy. You don't even go to Macy's. You go to Amazon and you may buy a product from Macy's or Macy's on Amazon. You know what I'm saying?
I'm wondering in our dealership that we bought and we're operating now. Are we going backwards a little bit in regard to the ridiculous amount of information that's available to our clients now? Are we going backward a little bit? Are they making themselves more confused than maybe they were? When I sold cars, I was their information source.
Yeah.
I pity them that I was their information source. But, I mean, that's the way it was back then. The dealership, the salesperson, the management, we were the information source. Then obviously it became the internet. I wonder, are we to the point where there's so many options that they could be now getting a bit more confused prior to coming to the dealership or calling the dealership
Oh,
now?
absolutely. I said that last time that I was here, mentioned it, saying that it's going full circle. You were the person who had it, right?
Right.
I think it's a little bit different where you had the information, but I had to trust you that you were telling me the right information.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Now the internet's come, everybody has the information, right? So some dealers will say the customers have it. I'm going, no, you have it too. You're just not looking at it, but it's there. Now it's a jump ball because I have so much information. It's not, people will tend to believe, well, if it's on the internet, I'll believe it.
Right. Yes.
Or they'll go to their version of reputable sites. So I'm a car driver and this, that, blah, 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 blah. Manufacturer sites, this sites. I totally agree with you. I think that more dealers should be pivoting to the concept of going right out. I always like punching an excuse in the face. So I'd go to market going, I know you're totally confused. I know we don't make it easy, meaning manufacturer does not make it easy to buy a car.
Oh, I
you
like
come in
this.
and make, go pick any car and there's 20, 30, 40, 50 different ways to put it together besides
Yes.
trim, which is why people conceptually like Tesla
Right.
is you get 3 models
Right.
and it comes down to, well, I want that. Well, it costs that, but I don't want to pay that much. Well, then you have to have this. Yeah, but I want that, but you got to pay that.
Right.
Pretty simple.
Right.
So you have all these different ways to put car deals together. So you say, I know it's confusing. Let me help you sort through. But that goes back to early on what we were saying our North Star is I will answer any question, even if it's over the phone, even if it's on email, or I'll put videos on my site. I'll put content on my site to tell you, here's exactly how we do it. Here's how we do it. Here's how we do this. Now, again, within realm of however much you want to do. But why wouldn't you tell people how long it's going to take from the time that they pick their car till they leave. Here's the process of what happens when you go in the F&I office. Here's how long. But you have to bring these things. If you don't bring these things,
It's going to take longer.
it's going to take longer. If you're not truthful, if you're not, you're telling us you forgot to tell us that there was a repo, guess what? Then the numbers I quoted you may not be correct, right? I can give you a ballpark, but I have to do all of this stuff till we figure that out, right? I think if you pivot to that, then you're that person who's helping them solve the confusion versus I'm going to make you feel stupid, or I'm just going to say, okay, well, you have the information, prove it to me. Why don't you tell me how smart you are? And
Right.
people are like, dude,
Right, because chances are the next phone call they make, that's the way they're going to get treated. So
Well-
if we're up front,
Well, if you think about the journey first is about the car.
yeah,
I'm going to do all my research to figure out what car I want.
yep,
What's cool, what's not cool. I'm going to, that was nice, right? And it may be a search
right.
like I did 3 years ago, which was best sedans under 30,000 or 30,000 or whatever, 35 or 30.
Well, you're doing that now. Are you doing that now? How are you searching for your replacement?
Well, I'm different because I got it down to two choices. So,
Right.
but yeah, no, I'm still looking,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at options. So yeah, I am customizing, and I'm looking at multiple different dealer sites to customize.
Right, but the point is, once I got my car,
Right.
then I'm going to use other tools to customize, or I
Right.
might just say, who has this in the area? And then I'm doing research on the dealership, right? So
okay.
I'm going to vet dealerships same way with simple things like if I get to your website, does it load slowly? Oh, you get out. I can't find what I'm looking for. Get out. You don't have enough pictures. You don't have videos. Get out.
Yeah,
Then
and-
let alone if I raise my hand, we talked about it earlier on that virtual lot. If I raise my hand on your virtual lot and you're not telling me the exact same thing that you would if I was standing in front of you, get out.
Right.
Like our patience level has gone because there's no other industry that we would put up with that.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I'll tell you we talked about it this week where I think some dealers are coming up short is they've switched and put so much focus on the website and so much focus on the experience there that if someone just wants to pick up the phone and call a dealership, I do it all the time. That's my form of mystery shopping when I'm
Yep.
calling a client. It might just ring sometimes. Sure. Or I'll end up in a voicemail. I'm like, what the hell? Am I really talking to a voicemail? They don't know who I am calling.
man.
Someone's calling the store, and that's it. They're done.
Well, it goes back to mapping it all out. What we said
Yeah, the
earlier is
experience.
that it's how do you want to, where can they touch, where's the customer touch points and how are you handling it? I've called and people don't even know, right? Hey, I'm looking for Bob. I just met Bob. I met Mary. She gave me her card and said, call me at this
Right.
dealership. I'm here. And I call up, hi, I'm looking for Mary Smith. And they go, who?
You're right. Yeah.
And I like Mary Smith. Oh, we don't have anybody named Mary Smith. She's the owner. Oh, that Mary. Okay. And I'm going, whoa. Or they transfer you and you're lost in voicemail hell, or
For sure.
transferred and no
Right.
one picks up.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
all of that, it's
Right.
not that they invest in the website. We were talking about earlier with this dealer at Digital Dealer. They said to me, nothing is new in digital marketing. I think digital marketing is actually getting to a sense of maturity now where it's just part of marketing. It's not, new. It just is. And everybody's been doing it. And it's commoditized. And it's, well, I'm doing pre-roll, I'm doing paid, I'm doing this. And even Facebook's starting to mature. And you're going, okay, we have to do all this. So now they have to double down on how do we treat. But all of that, constantly. I can market till I'm blue in the face how great I am, but if I ask you a question, you don't answer me, right? It's what I said earlier. If I'm just asking you a question on the lot, can you tell me if that car is available? You're going to say, yeah. But why can't I get that quick on your website? Right. Hey, can I schedule a test drive? Sure, come on in.
Yeah.
Nope. Give me your name. Maybe I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just, we don't think that way. I think we're starting to because there's people like us who are waving the hand going, that's stupid. And we're all going, yeah, I never thought about that. Right? Because we've just been, or the fact that you got 15 different call to actions on your VDPs. Like why? To go back to Amazon, there's one button. Do you want to buy it? So maybe there's 3. Here's the price. But why do we still play the game of get your E-price, get your super special price? So here's your price. If you want to have the unlock your special, or here's our discount that I can do for you because I'm the dealer. Okay, click on that. Why can't that chat pop up and say, hi, great. Glenn here. What can I help you with?
Right.
I see that you clicked on your special e-price. Who am I talking to? Talking to Joe. Great, Joe. Thanks very much. What can I help you with? Well, I'd like to know what that price is. Great. Not a problem. I'll tell you right now. Hey, by the way, give me your, let me have your, what's your number, and I'll text it to you with all the other stuff so you have it on your phone. Most people are going to go, sure. Here's my number. Text it to me because I got it, but it's like that. Right? So I think that no one's auditing a lot of that. No one's listening. There's people who go, I don't want to listen to my sales calls. If you're saying that, you have a problem. I don't want to know what's going on back there. You have a problem.
Yes.
But I think all of those things, people are not following all the customer journey all the way through. And then they're wondering why things aren't working. Simple things like, when was the last time you called your own dealership? When was the last time you handed 3 vehicles to a friend and said, go shop on my website? Could you find them? Was it easy? How was it? Could you tell me what my message is? We don't do that because we're so like, well, when are they coming in? Versus we're missing people because you're not answering the phone. How many people get lost in transfer? Hey, no one's reading the chat transcripts. Hey, we're not watching what people are saying. We send out emails that don't pull in. Thank you very much for your interest in the blah, blah, and you're going, all right. Simple things like that, or I can't tell you.
We're kind of involved in that. Actually, it came up 2 weeks ago. When we send recruiter trainers out in the field and they're on site at the dealership, which is 40% of our business, they part of the first night homework, air quotes, for the potential new hires is they go shop a local dealer with a scripted, here's the things we'd like you to cover.
Yep.
And we paint a scenario, there's a missing party, husband, wife, brother, sister, mother, father, so on and so forth. And it was like, this one dealer he got shopped several times, and it's like, what do we do? It was like, do we call this dealer and, we mystery shopped you, and it was a freaking nightmare, and you're going to be out of business in 3 months if you let this continue. Let us help you.
Yes, that's exactly the answer to that
Well,
question.
that's
Is
what
yes.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Our thing was, if he gets mad, if he
He's gonna
takes it
get
the
pissed.
wrong way, this isn't someone that you want to be doing business with.
Well,
anyway.
no, I just sit there and
Right,
say,
like that.
listen, I wouldn't even try to say I'm going to help you. I wouldn't even pitch him a product because
I
then
wanted
he's
to
gonna,
let you know.
Yeah, because think about it this way: if you go pitch him, then he thinks you're purposely trying to you're making these people
look
look
worse.
bad,
Correct.
to sell me stuff. Versus, hey,
You should know.
Yeah.
just letting you know.
Right.
I'm working with blah, blah down the street, and part of our training for new people is we shop other dealers. I just want to give you some feedback. Some people were in your store. Here's the way things were answered. I just wanted to pass this on and let you know. Thanks. And then they'll go, well, wait a minute. What do you mean you're down there? What are you doing? Right? But if I just say, listen, here it is. If I can help you in any way, let me know. But I think you should know. It's no different than, hey, dude, your house is on fire. Right. I'm not going to put it out, but I'm going to go, do you realize I'm burning in the back there?
There's smoke and flames coming out.
Well, and that's what I do with phone calls. I mean, I'll eventually get to our client and be like, look, dude, I just thought you might want to know.
Right, your phone's not answering.
The phone number that you have attached to your Google account, the way people search for anything now, it doesn't work, or no one answers, or it goes to voicemail.
And they'll go, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
right.
didn't know that's an old number.
I know this is squirreling, but Dan Moore just said hello to you. So.
Tell Dan Moore hello, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
The biggest squirrel.
You need your prizes, by the way.
What do I get?
Hey,
You have a Nissan Skyline GTR.
Nice.
It's sharp, and this is the real trophy here, though,
pretty.
Glenn. Volkswagen T2 pickup. Look at that Volkswagen pickup. Look at
didn't know
that.
there
Can we
was
get
a
that on
Volkswagen
there?
pickup.
That's pretty cool.
That is a cool.
That is nice.
That's a good one.
There's a stand-up comedian, I forget his name, has a Volkswagen warehouse. It's like a mini Jay Leno setup, but he must have 100 Volkswagen buses. That's all he does.
Crazy.
He collects Volkswagen buses.
That's
They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We got a couple more bills to pay. Our buddy Troy Spring, Dealer World.
It's 140, you got to go to your doctor.
I know I do.
You do have to get to your doctor.
So we can
Yeah, I do.
we can wrap up so you don't get yelled at by your doctor. What time do you have to be there?
Yeah, I probably should. 3:15.
How long does it take you to get there?
Depending on traffic.
He's going to be pushing it. Let's
Yeah,
talk about
we're
Troy real
pushing
quick.
Yeah, talk about Troy. He's really good.
MyDealerWorld.com. MyDealerWorld.com. Just landed in the
Inc. 5000
Inc. 5000. Thank
because
you
he's
very
fancy
much.
now.
I think he just opened a second location. He just bought a whole bunch of new furniture and stuff.
Did he open
made
a
his-
second
his-
location?
He also makes his own furniture.
Yeah.
Did he
Let's
open
put that
a
out there.
second location?
I think so. In the article, in the Inc. 5000 article, it said that he did. Now, I haven't talked to him in
I talked to
4, 5, 6
him a
weeks.
week ago. He didn't tell me he's open. He's
okay.
he's keeping it under.
I think Troy opened a second one, didn't he?
I don't
He-
think so.
I know
No, he
he's
moved
talking
to
about it.
to a bigger location. I didn't know.
Right.
But God bless him. He's doing fantastic.
He
I'm
buys
so
his
happy
people.
for
He
him.
really spoils his people.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And that's why he finds all those really good people in the middle of flipping nowhere,
Right.
where he's at.
And Lee Heighton.
Yeah, Lee Heighton, he gets top quality people because he treats them like top quality people,
Yeah.
who in turn treats their customers like top quality people. Great advertising agency and a good friend of all of ours.
Performance agency.
Performance agency.
Yeah, don't call it advertising.
I know.
See?
I
He'll get mad.
I know he does.
He'll get a call from Hunter.
I know. Hunter, you're an ad agency.
You're just doing that so Hunter will call you.
Yeah. He lives in Utah. He's not going to yell at me. Who else? Who are we missing? Oh, crap. Our friends at Rockstar Conference. Next one is Austin.
I think it's soon.
Man,
next
that's
week.
coming up.
I believe it's next week.
Yeah, I think it is
Monday.
Somebody put that in the comments here.
It's Monday. I know it's Monday. It's because it's the day.
Oh, it is, that's right.
Like day before our anniversary. That's why I
Yeah.
said I couldn't go.
And then Seattle.
Yeah.
After that, I think.
I'm pushing for Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to be there.
Oh, are you?
You're supposed to go to Austin next week.
Yeah.
If you go to Seattle, then you can go to the Funko Pop. It's in Everett.
Oh yeah.
It's in
Well,
Everett.
When is
well,
Austin?
see-
Monday?
Yeah.
What day's today? Wednesday?
Yeah.
I could still do that.
This is something we talk about with these conferences. Is you go and it's great, and then you never get to see anything. We're like in and out.
Yeah.
We never leave the conference.
It
We're in the hotel and in
sucks.
the conference. It's in Vegas.
Is that
It's in
what
Austin.
been your experience all the
Dude,
time?
when
or
I go
do
to
you try
Vegas, I come out and I feel like vampire because you go,
I
there's
know.
nowhere to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, look, here you go, right outside Funko Pop. They have all the big Funko, and then when you see all the big
That's
ones.
cool. Maybe I will try to get there.
When you go
I'd
inside.
like to take an extra day if I go out. I've never been to Seattle.
You should.
I've never been in state
Seattle's
of Washington.
different.
That's really cool.
Because you got to go to the fisherman. What's the fish place?
Pike Place, the
Wharf.
Fisherman's
Yeah, it's
Pike,
freaking
Pike,
awesome,
Pike
man.
Place Market.
Yeah.
Space
there's
Needle.
fish flying around.
We did
It's
all
crazy.
of that. We did that, and then the Museum of Pop Culture is really good too. That's fun.
That's cool.
Got to be careful where you go, though.
Yeah, sure.
So-
It's like anywhere. I want to say thanks to Matt for these. Matt,
Right.
I need like 10 more of these. This has become my go-to. I'm a pencil and paper guy.
Good too, man.
It's a good swag. Thanks.
Yeah.
I wish I had an extra one for you. It's
That's
awesome.
all right. I have so many. My wife has told me, please stop bringing back.
No more
Well,
swag.
'cause
Yeah.
No, these things, because every time I go to conferences, Vin Solutions has the small little mini moleskins, or then you have the hardcover ones, and I bring them all home for the kids because they have.
Oh, yeah.
And
Sure.
she goes, dear, you
I
get
know.
the dear. There's 30 of them in a stack.
Yeah.
Stop bringing these home. But I'm like, they're great.
Well, look
Yeah.
here. Look at the front of mine. That's what this was supposed to be for. So it started out as,
Yeah.
as one of the girls, and I took
Right.
it from them. I'm like, I ran out of space in mine. I'm gonna snag this one today. But yeah, I do the same thing.
All right, so we build a dealership. We got through a lot of it today, I think. I think any kind of overriding theme that we can put out there to people that, what we should really strive to do to be successful is automobile dealers going from this point forward in the next 12, 24 months, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah,
Anything we can put out there
yeah.
to people?
Well, I think it's Glenn's buzzword is having your North Star. So
Yeah.
it's have your vision and know the processes. Don't just have a vision. We had our 2 podcasts ago, we talked about emotional intelligence and culture, and all that stuff's fine. But until you have a process in place, and like you said, you can diagram it and actually diagram it. Put
Absolutely.
it on a board, put it on a computer if you're
Right.
more digital, but have a process that aligns with your vision.
It's exactly that. I did when I was a digital dealer, I spoke about that, and I made the audience. I said, okay, did the whole restaurant, right? Think of your favorite restaurant. Why, if I asked you in your town, where should I go? You'd say, I'll go here. And you told me why. Probably wasn't price. It was how they made you feel. The food, the atmosphere. Same thing with your dealership. Shut your eyes and say, if it could be running perfectly, right? My vision, shut my eyes, and it's like, what are they doing? How do the clients look? How do the employees look? What does it fit? What's the
Good.
then open up your eyes and go, where are we close? Where are we off? And then reverse engineer back and say, okay, if I want to get there, and that is my North Star, what do I have to do to get them to do that? So if they're doing these things, how do I train them to do it? How do I document this so the next person comes in, knows what we want, and then prioritize where can I get some quick wins, make some adjustments, and then say, okay, that if it's a priority, then how do I build it for a year from now? Not now. You're not going to get it soon. But if you really say, I want to make this change and I believe in that, and a year from now, it's very customer centric, it's employee centric, and I build all of this, and that goes to everything. We have a tendency to just focus on the vehicles, right, versus service. All of that is and follow that customer journey from marketing to get them in, to your point, when they interact with us, phone, chat, text, to Kobe, whatever, and then they move into our wheelhouse and they come into our dealership, and what's that experience? And then they buy and we hand them off to service. How's that? And what do they do over there over the next 3 or 4 years to keep them engaged? And how do we reach out to them? And then we keep them on our track, right? But that has to start with what experience that one. There's a reason why the Palm's been in business for everywhere, and they can franchise it and they stay in business, and you go in there and you go, man, it's always good. Why? Because they've trained it to be always good, and they set that standard high and they don't let it fall down. So and if you have that for your dealership, that's where you're going to go, but it's going to take you time to do it.
And I think, it's hard sometimes we get in here and you've talked about it. We sound like we're being negative. I don't think you have to be so intimidated by it, because what's probably going to happen is when you do start reverse engineering, you're going to find out you do a lot of things right too, and the tweaks could be very minor. It might not be a huge thing. You could be missing one little thing.
I don't think it is. I really don't.
Yep.
And that's part of this. It isn't like, oh my God, they're all horrible. 99% of them are doing really well. Right. A lot of times, and one of the things when I always talk about change, right? I spoke at a conference, we talked about change. I said, before you change anything, right? To your point, that's my North Star. I'm going to go look. You may, probably, most of the time, you already have a process in place. Mm-hmm. You're just not doing it well enough. Yeah. And if I tightened up how we did it, we'd be better. Mm-hmm. We'd be doing better. So a lot of times, to your point is, you probably have it all in place. Sometimes it's just oh yeah, we used to do that and we drifted away. If we get back on track, you probably don't have to change everything. It's tweaks, and maybe it's minor. That's why I always say, where are the small wins? Some of the small wins are, man, we used to do that. We got to get back on track. And all of a sudden you go, woo, and you only have to change one thing, or a little bit, or this. Most dealerships are doing really well. That's why people can go in. I would be curious with Frank here, or Dan, or Anthony, and everybody else you've had on here. When you go in, how much of it is we have to blow this up versus get you back on track to what you used to do?
Right. Yeah.
There might be a little flavor of, hey, in my experience, I do this. Very rarely. I'll bet you anything, probably no one's, because it's never happened to me. You may want to change from a BDC to a sales. You may want to do different marketing, but it's not, holy God, we got to blow this up. Right. It's not. Right. It's just everybody's squirreling around and everybody's running around doing the best they can, and they just don't feel comfortable enough to go, time out, blow the whistle, stop.
Right. Well,
let's take a day and just review everything.
Right. It's like you said. There's notes in the CRM from 4 BDC trainers ago. So that situation times 40 or 50 could be happening throughout the dealership.
But if you took time, and so if you want to give anybody anything to take away, if you just literally did that exercise, and got out of the dealership, and just sat down and took 2 hours, or take your top people and say, let's just do the exercise. Let's look at everything that we have. Do we have a process? Yes. Right. Is everybody trained to do it? Yeah. When was the last time we looked at it to make sure we're actually doing what we said to do?
You and I and Ernie are going to be doing that here shortly.
And if you sat there and did that, you'd probably go 75%.
We're good.
We can push a little bit, meaning we can amp it up, but they're doing it, we could do a little more training about
Right.
this. Out of the other 25%,
Right.
probably 15% of we have a process. We just stopped doing it. So let's get that back on track, to your point.
Correct.
And then 5% more is new. We never thought about that.
Yeah,
We
that-
got to do that. And
that
then
didn't
there's the
exist.
other 5% that you go, holy God, we have to change that. So it's not we got to blow it up. It's 75% you're doing well. Could we just make it more, tighten it up just a little bit? 15% is we got off pace, and 5% is it's a whole new technology.
New adjustments.
Tacobi's here, and I never thought about that before. That's new.
Sure.
Right? We're going to go with a different agency. That's new. And then there's 5 that is completely, we're antiquated.
Right.
It's wrong. It no longer works. And so I think, to your point, which is a really great way to end, it's not negative. It's just take an audit, self-audit, invest in somebody. That's something I'd outsource. We do that a lot for digital marketing, for CRM, is just give you a level set to tell you, here's what's working, keep doing it. Here's stuff you got to tweak. This is not working, and this is stuff you need to do, right? Go invest. If you don't want to do it yourself, hire somebody else to audit it, to come back to you and say, and then you go, okay, what can I have a priority? Because a lot of times when we do these audits, at least 75% is this really good. But this stuff that you're not getting what you're paying for from this agency, tweak, or this part's really good. This is not, you're doing really well on your CRM for the first 3 days, and then you fall off a cliff. Right? I think that's something of it all, because then you can save yourself time jump starting. What's that 5% I gotta blow up? What's the 5% that I gotta change? And then the rest is outsource the training because I don't have good trainers, or we just got to get our heads refocused.
Right.
All right. How do
Gotta go.
to get that kind of information? How do people get a hold of you, or anyone who they should be talking to at PCG?
You can reach out to me. You can find me on social media, just Glenn Pasch, pretty much anywhere. LinkedIn, I love connecting there. I post a lot of content, free content there. Facebook, you can go to pcgdigital.com. That's our website. On there, they have our services, but also if you're interested in audits, there's a form there that we then will reach out to you and we can schedule it. It's paid. It takes a couple weeks, but we deep dive into everything that you're doing and come back with and we present it to you. It takes a couple hours to present it to you, to say, here's all the stuff that we found. And everyone who has gone through it has found it valuable. And the biggest compliment is they go, I was expecting a sales pitch. Where's the sales pitch? And I'm going, you didn't hire me to sales pitch. You hired me to do this. But it ends up, we go back and check 60, 80 days, 90 days later, and it's amazing. They go, holy God, we saved money, or we changed this, or we got better.
Awesome.
Just because of that small investment.
And that would be the best thing for dealers to do, is go to the site, put in the lead form.
Yeah.
Right. And then someone from your team would reach
someone on
out.
the team would
rather
just
than
reach out to me personally, and we'll connect you and talk to you about it, send you the information. But I think if you want to change your experience and you want to say, hey, I want to make sure, a lot of times it's just I want somebody else to tell me, because I think we're doing good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can somebody else verify that? And
Yeah.
you're going, yeah, you're doing fine. Keep doing that. You're like, okay, that's good.
That's a great point.
That's just as valuable as, hey, this isn't, because a lot of times you don't know. You're running around. I don't know what's working. I think it's working. But for somebody else to go, yeah, that's good, or I would tweak this, and we'll tell them this is what you need to tell your vendor. Or tell your vendor this. And if they argue with you, get them on the phone with us, and we'll explain why we think that way.
Yeah.
And dealers like that
Yeah.
because they're spending so much money.
Right.
Let alone the salaries of the salespeople and what they're doing in the store and opportunities that they're missing. To get somebody if you don't have the time to take the breath and do it yourself, hire somebody to do it, and it'll take a couple weeks, and then you will put yourself, especially going into Q4, or if you feel like, hey, we're on a good pace, but you want to make sure, 2020 is coming, I got to really this is the time to do it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right.
Awesome, buddy.
Glad I came this time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came too.
I learned a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, always.
All right.
Always.
We'll have you back in December. We'll do a Christmas thing, and we'll
sure.
have a tree, and
Nice.
then you can really.
Then I can bring presents.
lots of presents.
Then I can bring lots of presents.
Yeah.
Listen, you're going to be.
No more gifts.
Love
all right.
love you, dude. I really appreciate you're so smart, and the way you put things is so great for the people that listen and that tune in. I'm really grateful that we have this relationship.
Love it.
No doubt.
And the platform for you to be able to teach people the way that you do.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun. It's easy to overcomplicate things. But if we just focus on what we want to deliver to the customer and reverse engineer it back, and then it's not easy, but it's almost, there's a reason why, as I say, McDonald's is McDonald's. It's Groundhog's Day, but they have a system in place, and we should learn from some of them what we could do to make it easier for our employees to be successful.
And I'm so pumped about the fact that you're going to start your own. When's your podcast? When are you thinking you're going to start your podcast?
I'm going to
First of the
probably
year?
start, first of the year.
Yeah, awesome. That's
I'm
cool.
finalizing the title.
Yeah,
Been bouncing
it's
them
important.
around. It
Nice.
is.
Cirillo's really. I mean, he's really.
Yeah, I
up
talked
on
with
that
him
stuff.
about it. He's been yelling at me because I look back on my notes. I think we laughed. I was on his podcast maybe 2 years ago. And I said, I'm thinking of a podcast. He says, say it with me now. Yes. And that's
Yeah.
been, it's just time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it is.
so, but
It is level 2 stuff. It is time away from other stuff, but
it's okay.
It's
you got to schedule it, right?
Got to
it's
schedule, man.
important, and things don't happen overnight either. So
No, I
be
just
prepared
think
for
I've
that.
been talking a lot about it, and now it's time to
Yeah.
put it down and share some of these things that I see out there, and then bring in people that can help. I have a good concept for it, and I think it'll help people.
Good,
Cool.
awesome. Thanks again.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Glenn.
Everybody.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, God bless.